him 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump for first place.
The road to $10,000 runs through the Texas Motor Speedway this evening. The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series goes to round number 4 of 17 here on iRacing Live, PSR TV, the Motor Racing Network, Nesson, iRacing Brazil, and the rest of our partners. Tim Terry, Tony Stevens, and Joe Cortez here to call all the action for you. And gentlemen, this is where it gets exciting. We got a whole lot of storylines here to follow this evening. The biggest storyline, though, Tony, might be the return of Joey Brown, driver number 12 from Last Row Motorsports. He was away for the first 3 events. He comes to round number 4. He has not missed a beat. He is on the pole for this evening's race.
I'm sure there's about 42 other drivers, Tim, that would like to do the exact same thing. Take a few weeks off and come back and set the world on fire with a top time, fast time, pole, whatever you want to call it. It's Joey Brown. Yeah, it was only a couple thousandths of a second, but you know what? An inch is as good as a mile. And the guy he's got it, or he did be on the front row, is Nick Ottinger, the guy who won this race 1 year ago. And Joe, to come back after being out of the seat for really a long time when you look at it at this level, that's a pretty stout accomplishment for Joey Brown to be that fast and to beat everybody in this field when it comes time for time trials.
And something else to consider there, Tony Stevens, is Joey Brown knows how to win on the 1.5 miles. He was third fast happy hour right now, and last year he won on a 1.5 mile track, not terribly dissimilar to Texas. He won at Atlanta, faster track, but in concept, a lot of the same different things you have to compete with on the track. So Joey Brown, absolutely a favorite, but don't discount Nick Ottinger just yet. He's coming off of a huge performance 2 weeks ago at Auto Club Speedway, and tonight he's looking to make it 2 for 2. And when you look back at last season, Nick Ottinger won all of his races in streaks. He could very well make it 2 for 2. Heck, he'd be looking at 3 for 3, as he did last year starting at Texas, April 16th, 2013.
And much like the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, we have that streak going of different winners in as many races. We have had 3 races. We've had 3 different winners. We started at Daytona with Kenny Humphrey. We go to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and Jake Sturgis cashes in there. And then Nick Ottinger wins at the Auto Club Speedway. So we're looking for a 4th different winner in as many races. We'll pop up the standings here, I believe, and we'll see Nick Ottinger in position number 8. As Joe alluded to, he won this race 1 season ago in 2013, but when you look at 2012 and 2011, it was Ray Alfalla. Once again, he had a great run last week in the main performance sim pedals number 2. He is up to 7th in the standings when you look at that, but there's your Daytona winner up top, Kenny Humphrey. What about Brandon Cattell? He's had such a great season so far, really doing what he did last year, starting off really, really strong in this series and continuing it with 2nd. Danny Hansen had an awesome run at Auto Club 2 weeks ago. He sits 3rd, Byron Daly and Peter Bennett. Your top 5, Thomas Lewandowski, Alfalla, Ottinger, Jake Sturgis, and your defending champion, Tyler Hudson, will be 10th in the standings. But he's got some work to do here, Tony. He's going to roll off tonight from P18.
Yeah, he does have a little bit of work to do, but it's nothing different, nothing we haven't seen already. Just like Las Vegas, started mid-pack and worked his way forward, had a shot to win until pit strategy ended up having him as the odd man out when the night was over with, although he arguably had the fastest car, and a car definitely capable of winning the race. There's no doubt about that. So I do suspect, Tim, that we're going to see a lot of guys moving forward and falling through the field, much like we've seen at the other intermediate tracks so far this season, Auto Club and Las Vegas. There's no mistake that these guys are fast at the similar type racetracks. Nick Ottinger last year was fast at a lot of intermediates. Guess what? He's fast again here. He did well on the other tracks too, don't get me wrong, but he's always been fast and good on intermediates. Tyler Hudson, Ray Alfalla, the same deal. Byron Daly started to get good on intermediates at the end of last year. So if you're good at certain types of racetracks, a lot of those same setup characteristics will carry over. And if they carry over, then that means you really, Joe, don't have a lot to do to tweak the race car since you already have a very good baseline underneath you.
Well, not only that, but here's something else to consider. This is the first season in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com that we don't have a super speedway schedule. So it's not going to be terribly uncommon to see somebody work their way up mid-pack, kind of get a feel for how the car is going to run in traffic, and then work their way up through the field and ultimately work their way up to a win. We've seen that strategy work time and time again over the first 3 races here in this season, and without that super speedway, without that big hurdle in the way, I've got a feeling that we're going to see a lot of your top competitors elect to utilize that strategy moving forward. Why? Because it's simple, because it's effective, it gives you an idea of what kind of car you have, and if you can tame the car, it works.
And we're going to see our track info pop up here at the bottom. And as Tony was talking, intermediate racetrack, 1.5 miles. We're going to see these racetracks again coming up later on in the season. And I say these type of racetracks, these 1.5 mile cookie cutters at Charlotte Motor Speedway coming up on May 20th. That's a 200 lap event. We've got Atlanta Motor Speedway coming up on August 26th. And that is the start, gentlemen, of those 4 races where you can't drop with this series. Weeks 14 through 17, you cannot drop a race. The first 13 races, you are permitted 1 drop race, so you can drop your worst finish. But those final 4 races, starting August 26th at Atlanta, then we go to Darlington, Chicagoland, and Homestead Miami Speedway, you cannot drop a race. Obviously, there's going to be a different build, which means this car is going to change. iRacing usually tweaks with either the car or the tire to make it handle a little bit different. And I know they're coming out with a new build very shortly here that's going to change that car once again. I don't know if you can take anything from this current build, Tony, and move it to Atlanta coming up in August. You probably can't take a whole lot other than maybe if somebody runs into you, you remember it. But, you know, it gives you a little bit of a sense of what we could expect possibly when we head down, when we see Atlanta on August 26th.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tim. And there might be some you can take and there might not be. It's one of those deals of it's no different than when Goodyear brings a new tire to a different racetrack. In the physical world, no different. A lot of the same physical characteristics of the race car might be the same, but it might take a completely different package to be fast, and that's something these teams have always been very good at figuring out. A lot of these teams, just like their physical counterparts, have a setup engineer or 2 or 3 and test drivers and so on and so forth. They've got an entire gamut of people ready to tell them what they need to know in order to go fast at upcoming events. And when those new tires and new builds and whatever come out, that's exactly when they go to work and when they shine, Joe. And it proves it right here. Joey Brown's been out of the seat for how long? He comes in and his team has helped him out. Here he is, fast man in town so far.
But that's not all these guys are going to have to contend with. Sure, the car is going to be a little bit different. The level of competition, as we've seen so far this year, continues to rise throughout the series, but they also have to contend with semi-realistic randomized weather in the sim. Tonight's weather is going to be almost in their favor. Clear 68 degrees overhead, a relative humidity of about 50%, but the biggest variable they've got to deal with is winds out of the south at 14 miles per hour. Guys, those heavy winds coming out of the south, it is going to affect how they drive these cars. It is going to affect what they need to do in order to make these cars really work out here. You're going to see them hitting the brake hard through turns 3 and 4 because of how that tailwind is hitting them. They're flying into the turn, and I've got a feeling that if this wind continues here tonight, this is where we're going to see the biggest issues on the track, trying to slow down, trying to keep that car controlled with that major tailwind coming down the backstretch.
Blackford told us earlier that tailwind, or that wind coming out of corner number 2, could very well play into effect here, especially in these first couple of laps. We'll see what happens, but before we do, we're going to go to the starting grid after this. Don't go away.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
first thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to keep the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.
One lap from going green at the Texas Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. On the front row, it's car number 12 of Joey Brown. Welcome back to the series to his outside last week's winner, Nick Ottinger.
Chris Overland and Cody Bias going to make up row number 2.
Row number 3 belongs to the 82 of Alex Warren on the inside, Matt Boos on the outside.
The draw tight number 1, a Rich Doucette, rolls off from 7 to the outside. It's the 5 of Mike Conti.
Brian Day and the PlanBSales.com Chevrolet rolls off 9th, and to his outside, that's the intelligence and driven steering wheels forward of Byron Daly.
Ray Alfala, your former champion, starts on the inside of row number 6 in the 2. Kenny Humpy, your points leader, the 58, 12th.
New sponsor on that car, too, as well. Chad Lawton rolls off 13th to the outside, 55, Brian Schoenberg.
Adam Gilliland's number 8 rolls off 15th, and Brandon Schmidt will start to his outside.
Justin Bolton starts in the 36 machine, position number 16. On the outside of him, your defending champion, the Peak Machine, 0-1, Tyler Hudson.
We got Josh Lawton rolling off from position 19 to the outside, Danny Hansen.
Brian Blackford and Rob Ackley are in row 11.
Row 12 belongs to Brad Davies, Brandon Hawk.
Kevin King and Ashley Miller.
Brandon Hoff in the 23, and Landon Harrison, the 89, the next row.
Edson in row number 15 on the inside, Alex Scribner on the outside.
We got T-Law starting 31st to the outside, Brandon Bowie.
Michael J. Johnson and the Speedco Machine, Josh Berry, 34th.
Oh, behind them, Kwame Agel in the 43, 35th, Brandon Cattell, 36th.
We got Bennett, PJ Sturgis, Brad Mahar, Tom Lewandowski, Robert Hall, Trombley, and Jake Sturgis completing your field. We're getting ready to go green. It's 167 laps. Strap in. We're about to go racing the Barley Electrical. Number 12 about to be on the hammer. Green flag flies, and we are underway for the first time this evening at the Texas Motor Speedway. Ottinger quickly into line, Overland into third, and guys, watch this, and I'm sure these guys are watching on the restart. This is the first race that the restart rule has been reinstituted. You are not allowed to change lanes prior to the start-finish line. I'm sure, Tony, somebody's going to be caught for it at least once tonight.
Somebody's going to push that line. It always happens no matter what kind of race you do. Somebody's got to push the issue on the rules, and somebody's got to make a decision whether that was too far or whether, in fact, it's just right on the line. And like you said, it's going to be somebody. It might not be tonight. It might be next week, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen quickly, and it might not be intentionally. It's going to happen at some point, probably accidentally. As you watch now, this battle on the racetrack, back towards the tail end of the top 10. The number 4 machine, Brian Day. Well, he's right there in the middle of it, trying to work the outside, and really not having a very good go of it. Ray Alfala, Byron Daly, Matt Busa, they're all right there in the middle of that. Adam Gilliland right there, too.
That battle is for position 14 on back as they continue, 11th on back as they continue to do battle back there. You watch the right play there of Byron Daly. You can see just how nervous he is as he debates making it go 3 wide into turn, out of turn number 2 into the backstretch. Byron Daly going to duck it down low. Going to work with the number 40 machine there of Josh Lawton. Bad news though for Brian Day. Brian Day started in the top 10. He started position number 9. Now he's already dropped to position number 13 plus or minus, maybe number 14 if the 32 machine, the Brogy Consulting Ford, if Dan Hansen can get by him, there he goes. And now here comes Brian Schoenberg as well, leading the parade past Brian Day and Kenny Humpy.
And backing up as well as the 58 of Kenny Humpy, his teammate of Kevin King underneath him. Get a shot of those blue cars as they go into corner number 3. That is the Brett Kozlowski Racing, and we have a caution.
Big trouble back straightaway. Kwame Ajay has met his demise, and it looked like he had a little bit of help. It was really kind of weird. It happened mid-straightaway. He got a little bit of a push from Josh Berry as they all got stuck and bottlenecked on the back straightaway. But Kwame Ajay pounds the inside wall hard. Looks like his day is done, and Josh Berry, significant damage. Looks like the nose of his machine has been crammed in as well. So 2 cars, substantial damage. Looks like Josh Berry, as we said, will continue, Joe, but Ajay's night is, well, done.
Well, number one, I said that coming off turn number 2 into the backstretch was going to be the problem area of the night, and so far that is where the first caution flags come out. It really all starts around the 54 of Brandon Bowie, the slip angle Ford. He just gets sideways. He dirt tracks it, coming off of 2, forces the 50 to check up. Alex Scribner checks up right behind Kwame Ajay. Kwame Ajay nowhere to go. He goes straight into the back of the 50. The 88 gives him the shove, and that is literally all she wrote. The 50 checked up, the 88 shoved the 43, and now we might have some pit stops going on.
Yeah, a couple of guys flirting with pit road, but I don't think anybody within the top 10 is going to come down. Here comes Brian Day. He's the first on pit road in the 4 car. Everybody else is going to stay out at least within the top few. Brandon Schmidt going to come down as well, but that was about 20th place, and that was where those cars were backing up. We'll see if our cameras can't get another shot of the 58 and the 29 because they're running nose to tail. Point I was about to make before we went to caution. Brad Keselowski Racing has come on board to sponsor the team. It's the 58, the 29, and the 1. Rich Doucette is currently running in 6th. The other 2 cars are running nose to tail right now in 20th and 21st. Kenny Humpy is your Daytona winner. He is running the Reese Tow-powered Chevrolet. We got the Cooper Standard number 29 Chevrolet, and then we have the Draw Tight number 1 of Rich Doucette, and it's great to see Brad hopping on board. And you remember back in the day, Tony, when he used to run DMP and used to run all the leagues back in the day, and then he moves to the Sprint Cup Series. Still keeps that connection with Kevin King, and a great connection it is with that. And now we see the BKR sponsors on these race cars, and they look pretty good. Kevin King did a nice job painting those up.
Really, really did. And that's really cool to see that type of involvement from people. Obviously, Dale Jr. won the inaugural race of this series and ran the first year. Now Brad Kay's coming on board, sponsoring a team. We've got all the, Peak's been on board with the series now this year for their first year of a multi-year agreement. Great to have them on board. I'm going to go out on a limb here and make an open challenge to Denny Hamlin, to Martin Truex Jr., to all those guys that used to run the DMP side, and see if they can somehow get involved in this, because obviously we know they have a passion for sim racing. I think they need to get involved as well to kind of make this a little bit of their fun time, so to speak. They can have their own little bets in the garage and so on and so forth. But I'm going to make that open challenge here tonight on PSR TV's broadcast for those guys to get involved sometime within the next couple of weeks. And we see, of course, Parker Kligerman's involved. He's got the new Intelligence car. He's also even got an actual sponsor that works with physical race cars with driven steering wheels on there. And now actually they're starting to expand their product line into simulated equipment, which is really cool. So we see a lot of crossovers between these different types of sponsorships, these different partnerships, Joe. It's really, really cool to see everything that this series has become.
It really is cool. What excites me is the fact that these guys, despite the fact they've made it to that top tier of motorsports, of closed wheel racing, they have not forgotten their roots. They have not forgotten where they came from. And just less than 10 years ago, less than a decade ago, they were sitting in these guys' shoes, hoping to make the same exact jump, the same exact places, and hoping to see their names in lights one day. And now that's where they're at. The green flag flies back on the field. Here we are back to green flag racing on lap number 7 here at Texas Motor Speedway. Joey Brown once again getting the jump. Chris Overland's going to work with a 12. And now the 5 to the wall.
Yeah, he hit the wall coming out of that second dog leg. It looked like he just grazed it, but maybe some potential damage on the ring machine, Tim. That could be big if it out.
So 05 tries it now, gets back in line. He's going to sit position number 3 behind the 47, the HDRN machine of Chris Overland. And the 05, who won this race 1 year ago, he might now be in a little bit of trouble. We'll have to find out as the race progresses. Meanwhile, another driver who is progressive on the track is the 2 machine of Ray Alfala, your multi-champ champion in that white Ford machine. He's now going to get underneath the 5 of Michael Conti and try to advance his position from 7th to 6th.
Yeah, he's looking to pick up a spot there to move to 6th. Alex Warren just behind him. He did not get going on the restart. He restarted in 5th. He's now back to position.
Danny Hansen and Justin Bolton have gotten into it off of turn number 4. It was just a matter, Tim, if it looked like the 32 machine of Hansen thought he was clear. He was not, and he and Bolton both, looks like their nights are going to come to an end. Large impact here in the front straightaway is going to bring out caution number 2.
So the 32 and 36, and just looks like the spotter for that 32 machine of Danny Hansen, the Pro Geek Consulting Ford, did not look up or did not tell him, hey, you've got company right there, right behind you. And the 32 just literally got into the 36, not knowing that there was another driver behind him. That Best Western machine ended up spinning around, giving him the pit maneuver, as it were. But you can't credit the 36 for that. Justin Bolton, that's just going to be a hard way to go out for him, because he was almost an innocent bystander in that incident. He wasn't in the way. He was just trying to run his line, and that 32 machine just wrong place, wrong time, and Danny Hansen is definitely going to end up paying for that one.
And after Danny ran so good 2 weeks ago at the Auto Club Speedway, finishing in position, I believe it was number 2 at the end of that race, and had a little bit of damage, thought he could win the race, but that little bit of damage hindered him from getting up there and challenging Nick Ottinger at the end of the race. Danny Hansen, a little more damage in this one, and if he's going to contend for a victory, he's going to have to spend a lot of time on pit road, and that crew's going to have to massage that thing on probably at least three of the 4 corners of that Pro Geek number 32, but tough break for him. Came into this one third in the point standings, and this might be that drop race that he has to use in the first 13 weeks. Ray Alfala coming onto pit road, maybe. No, he's going to fake, but there's 2 in front of him that are coming down, 05 and 27, Ottinger and Bias heading towards pit road, and Tony, they look fairly lonely down there. There's not a whole lot of cars joining them within the top 15.
No, there really isn't, but I think it's not a surprise that Ottinger comes down. We saw him get into the fence there on that restart. More than likely to come down, make sure there is no damage to that 05 machine, and it appears it's going to be 4 tires and fuel for the Ream crew. Cody Bias, same thing. He was stuck there on the outside, I believe, on that last restart, and he too might have caught a piece of the concrete or the outside safer barrier at some point. The good news is it's early in the race as Josh Lawton leaves pit road. You can come in, you can make sure all the damage, if any, is repaired, and you're set and ready to go. And now you've got a little bit of an advantage to where, yes, you're mired back in the field, but if this race maybe comes down to either pit strategy or some sort of long run to where maybe you can get yourself off sync, you might have a little bit of an advantage now. But the way this race has gone so far in these opening 12 laps or so, Joe, it's looking like they might be putting themselves right in the hornet's nest.
A little early and a little hard, and that's not necessarily where you want to be exactly. The 05 Nick Ottinger back on the racing surface, and I believe he really did have a little bit of damage. It looks like he's going to try to come back down pit road again and try to get a little bit more damage repaired on that 05 machine. So the 05 might be in a little bit more trouble than we anticipated, which is not where Ottinger wanted to be this early in the race. But for those guys that were trying to keep behind him or keep in front of him, Joey Brown, Chris Overland, Rich Doucette, Ray Alfala, who's now in position number 4. These guys are now going to have a field day, and they're going to have to decide it amongst themselves. So that being said, we're only on lap 13 of 167. There's still a lot of racing that's going to go on tonight.
You know, it might not be bad for Nick Ottinger to come down pit road and get some of that damage, if he has any, on that right-hand side repaired, but it also might be a fuel mileage game. We've seen these races, Tony, go one of 3 ways. We've seen it go completely green, like it did last year. That's not going to happen. We can strike that off the list. It goes caution at the first, then we get a long green flag run in the middle, then we get some cautions at the end. I guess it can go 4 ways, because we can go cautions at the first, get a long green flag run, and finish it under green, or we can go a lot of green flag racing at the start and then have a caution-filled finish to the race like we did at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This one, well, we've had a couple of cautions here, and we've seen Texas before where we had a lot of green flag racing to it. Well, I don't know what we're going to expect here. Maybe if you're Nick Ottinger, maybe if you're those guys that just came down pit road, a Cody Bias maybe, you're expecting some green flag racing to come through and get some fuel strategy into this thing.
Yeah, I think you are. You're expecting at least something. Maybe they'll try to shuffle the field up. And Ottinger and Bias, the lonely people up front, but really when you look at the running order, you look at who else came down, about half the field came down pit road. So not as big of a gamble as maybe they thought it was going to be when they did make that peel off of the racetrack. Ottinger going to be restarting inside of row number 10 in the 19th spot. Bias to his outside. So yeah, you lost about 15 or 20 spots, but you could have lost a whole lot more. So I'm sure Nick Ottinger very thankful everybody else came down pit road. Other notables that did come down include Tyler Hudson, even Brian Blackford, Brandon Cattell, who was fast in practice for that matter, came down pit road. So a lot of guys, as you said, Tim, maybe trying to short pit or play some sort of, not so much short pit, but play some sort of strategy here to see if this can shuffle things up and maybe put them in a prime position towards the end of the race. And Joe, like Tim said, we've seen crazier things this year. We saw something in Vegas we thought we'd never see, a guy making it last on that one stop. And then when we went to Auto Club, we thought we were shaping up for the same thing, and it came down to a bunch of yellows at the end of the race. So you never really know, but you've got to do what you can to put yourself in a good position.
It's early yet in the season, and if you're going to roll the dice, if you're going to try to gamble that one drop, it's better to do it early than later, I suppose. With that being said, the longer you hold on to that drop, the better opportunity you have later on down the line. Pace car goes down pit road. We are back to green flag racing on lap number 15. And Joey Brown once again back in front of the field. Chris Overland cuts off the nose of Rich Doucette, but here comes Doucette one more time in the draw-tight Chevy. He's going to have a little bit of tailwind now of the multi-time champion, Ray Alfalla.
47 on the outside, trying to make something happen up there, but Rich Doucette is trying to get up to the lead position as we have a wreck out of 3.
Trouble in turn number 3. Looks like a couple of cars involved. The number, let's see, who all was in that? The number 22 machine of Rob Ackley, it appears, caught a piece of it. And the number 27 of Cody Bias also involved in that one. And it really looks like that maybe just Cody Bias cut down on the 26 machine of Chad Lawton, thinking he had a little bit more room than he did. And around went Cody Bias. Poor Rob Ackley had nowhere to go. And both of them bouncing off the outside wall, or each other for that matter, brings out the 3rd caution of the night, Joe.
Yeah, that 26 machine, he just kind of forced the issue there. The 26 that belongs to Chad Lawton, he really forced the issue, making it go 3 wide, going into turn number 3 and 4, caught the 27 of Cody Bias off guard. Bias and then creates a chain reaction, goes careening into that 22 machine of Rob Ackley, and both those drivers nowhere to go as a result of that forced move that was made. Cody Bias gets away, almost got free out there, but the 22 machine of Rob Ackley, he's got some heavy rear end damage now, and he's going to try to figure out what he can do, if anything, to salvage his night tonight. Remember, guys, that draft is important here. Draft does come into play at these intermediate tracks, and if you have a car that is banged up on the front end, banged up on the back end, or has some of that side damage, flattening of the side or rubbing of the tire, it very well could affect how your car runs, and more important than that, it could affect how competitive you can be as you move through the field.
We'll take this opportunity to step away here. Go refill your drinks. Go grab something to snack on, because I have a feeling a green flag run is coming. Joey Brown is your leader at Texas. Don't go away.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Welcome back to our live coverage here at Texas Motor Speedway of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. Not a whole lot going on during the commercial break. Joey Brown still up front. Rich Doucette in the Draw-Tight Chevrolet second. Ray Alfalla now worked his way up to position number 3. Chris Overland fourth, and Michael Conti rounding out your top 5. Very stacked top 5 right now, Tim, but a lot of other drivers looking to make some stuff work here, including Adam Gill and Byron Daly, Matt Busa, Kenny Humpy now back in the top 10, and Brian Schoenberg worked his way up from position number 14 now into the top 10.
Yeah, Joe, it's all about getting into a rhythm at this point, and these drivers are looking to find it. One point we should mention as well, we talked about Cody Bias and Nick Ottinger and those drivers that came down pit road on that last caution flag to try and top off the fuel and try maybe a possible fuel strategy. It didn't work out for Cody Bias. He gets involved in an incident, and now he is still back mired in 36th place with still a whole lot of left front damage to that CBR number 27. We're going to get doubled up, and we're getting ready to go back to green with Joey Brown and Rich Doucette on the outside. There's a driver that's really had some tough luck this season, Tony. Rich Doucette. He's sitting 37th in the point standings, 33 points total on the series. His teammate Kenny Humpy, who's leading the series, has 125 points. A little bit of a difference there.
Certainly is, but I think that new Brad Keselowski partnership with this group has really given him a shot in the arm. I mean, for a short time there, they were all up in the top 10 or so. Doucette now in second. Pretty good deal if you're them, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great deal for them because it really allows them to invest a little bit more. And again, having that brand name, that big name behind you can really make all the difference, especially when you're looking to go to the next tier in iRacing. Not a whole lot of difference. Well, all right, a lot of difference between racing from the comfort of your own home and racing at the track. But still, a lot of similarities in these two disciplines, and a lot of what you can learn here in the virtual world can definitely apply to the real world. Green flag back in the air for the 4th time tonight, and Joey Brown still on the jump, lap number 20. He has not relinquished his lead yet. Ray Alfalla, though, looking to change it, and here comes Michael Conti and the 47 of Chris Overland trying to get in the mix as well. Byron Daly will have none of that, sir.
The 1 and the 47 backing up on the outside line as they go into corner number 3. Joey Brown tries to hold off Ray Alfalla and Mike Conti. They begin to pull away, but it's side by side behind them. And Tony, it's not really side by side when that back line is backing up, or the outside line is backing up. 47, now 34, and Matt Busa on the outside line as the inside line continues to train them.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It seems like the outside's not the place to be, and that's what Byron Daly and Michael Conti just experienced. Well, actually, not Byron Daly, Michael Conti and Ray Alfalla. Conti moved up to second, got by Ray Alfalla, and Ray, not going to be hung on the outside, decided to go ahead and give him the spot. In fact, Conti now closing in on the leader, Joey Brown. In fact, it's less than a car length as they work into turn number 1. Looks like maybe Michael Conti could be one of the raciest machines on the racetrack. And look at that car, Joe. He backs the corner up already. He lost another 1-2 car lengths to Brown, but he's able to let that car rotate. He got back in the gas quicker, and now once again he's right on the back bumper of Joey Brown. Conti, really the only driver I see backing the corner up like that. It might not pay big dividends now, but down the road here, when you don't want to be abusing the tires, you've got a little bit of grip left, Michael Conti might have a really well-balanced machine, as we've got a race for 4th spot as well. Adam Gillen now to the inside of Byron Daly through 1 and 2.
Outside line, not where you want to be here on this track is Byron Daly. Now starting to feel the frustration of the high line. Rich Doucette in the draw-type machine going to go underneath him. Kenny Humpy next in line to do so. Both those drivers dispatching a 93 without any trouble. Now here comes the 82 of Alex Warren. He's going to go around the 93 this time by. Yeah, so now the 93 starting to feel the hard, cold shoulder of the outside of the track. The 93, 3-wide Daly cannot afford to go 3-wide tonight. He needs to get back. He needs to get out of 2-wide, in fact. He needs to get back on that low line and start making some other drivers make those mistakes. Otherwise, he will drop like a stone in the middle of a frozen pond.
Top 7 are single file for the time being. It's side by side with Daly and Overland. Overland takes the spot, and it just seems like now that this might have a touch wood, little bit of a green flag look to it. These guys are picking off positions as they can, and it looks like Blackford might be the first driver that's side by side with Brian Day, and that's all the way back outside the top 20 right now. as these guys find their groove. We work lap number 25 to complete it here. Joey Brown continues to lead, but he's got company. Here comes the Obudo Gaming Cockpits, number 5 of Mike Conti. And Tony, there's another driver that needs a good run this season as well. He sits 27th in the standings coming into this evening's race. We remind you that the top 20 get locked into the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series for 2015. I know we're talking a long ways away, but that's a big ticket to lock yourself into, and you can do some good here by getting a good run tonight.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Tim. That's something you really want to be able to do, is to have yourself locked in for 2015. It seems kind of weird saying that already, and it's only April of this year, but nonetheless, it is something that's on the minds of some of these drivers. By the way, if you're a Byron Daly fan, he just picked up another spot, worked his way by Brandon Hawks to move Byron Daly back inside the top 10. And now, Joe, it looks like this field's strung out, single file. Everybody has realized very, very quickly that, much like the Sprint Cup Series race yesterday, well, everything except up front now is, here comes Michael Conti to the inside of Joey Brown, and Brown will give him that spot to move Michael Conti up to the point. New leader, and it looks like Conti more than likely has got minds of pulling away here, as he already is distancing himself from Joey Brown. And in fact, now the 2 new BKR sponsored cars were side by side. Doucette and Humpy working their way into turn number 3.
Worked his way through turn number 3 and around the number 1 of Rich Doucette. Now at the start-finish line, the 58 of Kenny Humpy has moved his way from position number 5 to position number 4. Don't count out, though, the 8 of Adam Gill in the Gary Mercer Trucking Chevrolet. He's working right in line right now, hoping that the Rich Doucette machine will make the same mistake that he did with his teammate, and then hopefully he can make some moves to get around him. Alex Warren, Brian Schoenberg, Chris Overland, 3 wide Daly in the back in the top 10. But back up front, Michael Conti, he told us at the beginning of the season he's only going to run a part-time schedule this year in the Obudo Gaming Cockpits machine. And how big would it be for him? How great would it be is in that limited schedule, in that limited outing, the 5, it could win this race. How great would it be for him and the team?
Yeah, it'd be great to see him run that full schedule and get back up there. I just saw Nick Ottinger make a move down the back straightaway on, I believe, the 41 on Jake Sturgis. Actually, that's not who I'm talking about. The 05 of Ottinger made a move on Trey Eidson in the 6. They similarly looking cars, Tony, from afar, and he's bringing Tyler Hudson along with him in the 01 car, and the 3 of Brandon Schmidt trying to make the same move as well. But Ottinger dove to the inside, down the back straightaway to make that move 1 lap ago on the 6. The 6 will fall back 2 positions, and now he moves up once again. Looks like Ottinger on the hunt again.
Tim, you need to get your eyes checked. I understand that snow is rather blinding in Canada, but now it's really starting to affect your career and your vision, so I think you need to get that checked. But nonetheless, Ottinger is on a march towards the front. Now working by Josh Lawton as they get into turn number 1. Let's move Ottinger up another spot. Now that'll put him up into the 15th position. Matt Busa, the next victim on his list, as things continue to work themselves out. In fact, even ahead of them just a little bit. Looks like Kevin King losing a spot to Chad Lawton at his 12th spot as they work off through turns 3 and 4.
Back throughout the rest of the track, the 01 now starting to look. That is your defending series champion, Tyler Hudson. He will get around the 40 machine, and now he wants to try to make it a 2-fer. The 34 just drops it in his way, and that's not going to happen. Shut the door right on him. Nick Ottinger, on the other hand, starting to march his way through the field. He should be about position number 14 once he comes back around. Some of these guys, including Ottinger, has a little bit fresher tires in the field, and I believe they also have a little bit more fuel, so they could start marching here real quick, though I don't know that Ottinger wants to do that just yet, unless he's planning on using those tires to try to get up front and try to get through the field and start pitting with the leaders and start challenging them at the end of the race. Anything is possible at Texas.
Yeah, they're still trying to get up there and gain some track position that they might have lost with those early pit stops. Ottinger 14th, Tyler Hudson 15th at this point as they come up at a corner number 4 this time to complete lap number 34. It's still Conti, Brown, Alfala, your top 3 up in front, and they have pulled away a little bit from Kenny Humpy, but Humpy is keeping the same pace as your leaders. The 58 car has pulled away from his teammate Rich Doucette, Adam Gilliland and Alex Warren, the 2 CBR teammates back there running 6th and a 7th, and then you got Schoenberg, Overland, and Byron Daly completing your top 10. And there's a nice little plug we can throw in there. Tony, Newtelligence just launched here in the last week or so since we've had our last race. So if you want to go over to Newtelligence.com and order your Newtelligence, you most certainly can. And I believe Byron has a code on there for, I think it was 20% off on that 93 car. Might have to get a small little look at the quarter panel of that race car at some point. But good on Newtelligence for launching here in the last week and a half or so. And I know Byron said he took one just before the race, and right now he's focused on the 9th place position.
Yeah, for sure. And that, again, if you go back to how these sponsors are coming on board, running promotions, just like they do in the Sprint Cup Series with the Antifreeze Series, which is absolutely one of the coolest things that I've seen in a long time. And I think everybody, when it comes to this, is going to be very, very excited about it. But Byron's doing pretty well right now. You know what? I think they need to do a promotion like, well, who was it? Golden Corral did, where top 10 kids eat free. I think Byron gets the top 10, we all get free Newtelligence. What do you think, Kevin?
You know, it certainly wouldn't hurt. I mean, I think we could all use a little Newtelligence up here in the booth.
We could use a lot of things in the booth. I think Tim will attest to that.
I have no doubt he will. We're back on the track, though. Kevin King now gets around the 53 of Brandon Hawk. Here comes Nick Ottinger. He's going to do the same. And now Ottinger's starting to hunt down the 29, the Cooper Standard of Kevin King. And if anyone's got a car to do it, or if anyone's got to figure out how to do it, it's going to be the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Remember, last year, he won his races in streaks of 2 and 3. He started the party early this year by winning at Auto Club Speedway. He won this one here last year at Texas. So if anyone's a threat to win it, it's a 05 of Nick Ottinger as you run inside the Rheem Chevy.
I don't think you can count out the peak Ford Fusion back there either at Tyler Hudson. It just seeming to follow through that 05 through the field as he looks at Brandon Hawk, and that's the only car between himself and Ottinger right now at this point, as we have changed for second. Ray Alfala going to move up to the second place position. It's going to be Joey Brown moving back to position number 3, and with that slight little change there, Tony, it looks like they lost a little bit of ground to Mike Conti, but Ray Alfala, Joey Brown going to try to reel that back in as the 5 car continues to lead here. They'll complete lap 40 this time by the stripe.
40 in the books, and we got to start looking at pit stops here coming up sometime in the next 20 laps or so, Tim. Remember Conti, Alfala, none of these guys have been down pit road. In fact, I think the first guy that has been down pit road so far is Nick Ottinger, and he's starting to march his way through the field as he's back in, 12th or so. Chad Lawton right in front of him. I think he might have been down pit road as well, but nonetheless, these leaders, something they might begin worrying about as this race starts to unfold, and as you mentioned earlier, gets that green flag look to it. Back a little bit further, though, look at Brian Schoenberg and Chris Overland working their way into turn number 1. Schoenberg trying to hold serve on the outside and doing a pretty good job pinching Overland down, Joe. That's one of the best runs we've seen on the outside. Oh, this might not end well.
Might not end well for anybody as a 55 has an electrical issue, freezes up the motor, and Chris Overland can breathe easy. I think he's going to breathe a little bit easier as the 55 drops off the track. Chris Overland works his way to position number 7, and that was some very, very scary moments for Overland and company. He almost made contact twice through the turns with the 55 of Schoenberg, and if those two drivers had made contact on the track, that could have potentially taken out a lot of competitive drivers, including Daly, Lawton, Ottinger, who's on the move, Adam Gilliland, and Kevin King. That could have been catastrophic to a lot of drivers on the field.
I know Schoenberg, with his work schedule, he's been trying to get some laps in on the setup the last couple of nights, but he's had some troubles trying to get that in there as well. So a tough break for Schoenberg in the number 55 car, as it looks like he's coming down pit road right now. He's back with us, but he is down pit road. 5 car. So I guess the first cycle of green flag pit stop's going to start here, Tony, but not as early as Brian Schoenberg wanted to. He might have some damage to that race car as well, but it looks like
yeah, Tim, it is pretty substantially torn up, and that's it's something we're not going to see. And if you're not familiar with what exactly just happened there, and you go, well, what in the world just happened? Brian Schoenberg's computer essentially lost connection with the server, or if you want to think of it this way, lost contact with the racetrack, essentially. So therefore, nobody could see him, and he could see nobody. Now, the way these computers have codes in them to help predict things, it made life a little bit easier for some others, but still very, very tense. And apparently some of that, what we call prediction code, caused a car to get into Schoenberg or vice versa, tore his car up on his computer, and ultimately that's what then registers back with the server or the main racetrack, if you will, and now he's going to have that repaired. Tough break for Brian Schoenberg, no doubt, but that's also why everybody we saw, Joe, moved to the inside immediately once they realized what was happening, because the last thing they wanted was that 55 to regain communication with the central server and be right in the middle of their race car, because that would have been a bad day.
Well, that would have definitely ruined a lot of people's days if that had happened, because I think this is one of the leading contributors to car accidents here on the iRacing track. Back through the field right now, no big changes. Top 10 still remains single file, and at this point, guys, I've got a feeling all the drivers out here are just doing everything they can to conserve everything in their car. Conserve the tires, conserve the fuel, conserve everything in these machines in order to try to save them up for these pit stops and try to get in and out as fast as they can. Kenny Humphrey, though, throwing a little bit of caution to the wind as he gets right on about a car length away from the 12 of Joey Brown, 58, running one of those BKR Racing Chevrolets out here. That's going to be the Reese Tow Power Chevrolet for Kenny Humphrey. Great little paint scheme out there. And again, really good to see Brad Keselowski get back to his roots a little bit and supporting sim racing.
The 58 closed in on the 12 for position number 3, and he's closed in about a half second or so in the last 10 laps or so on your leader, Michael Conti. So the 58 is marching his way to the front of the field, as I believe we are starting to possibly see some hands at the window in the next couple of laps to see Matt Busa and the 8 of Adam Gilliland going side by side back there around 12th or 13th. I think Gilliland is a couple of laps away from coming down pit road in car number 8, but nevertheless, Conti, Alpha Allen, here comes Humpy. Humpy to the inside of the 12, and he will pick up position number 3, and not a whole lot of contest there as he begins to drive away from the 12.
Looks like Kenny Humpy has got, for nobody's surprise really, a very good long-run car. Like you said, Tim, he has closed in on this pack, and he was about, 2-3 seconds behind him almost, and he has reeled them in almost like it's fishing season for Kenny Humpy, and he's got one down already. Ray Alfala and Mike Conti going to be the next two in his sights, but man, Kenny Humpy has been fierce all season long. That's a reason, Joe, he's on top of the points. He's already got a win this year. Of course, that's the season opener at Daytona, but it looks like he misses victory lane, and Kenny Humpy might be poised to end up in victory lane here again in Texas.
Well, you talk about the importance of winning Daytona. You talk about the importance of winning those first races here in the season. Let's talk about Kenny Humpy. He won Daytona. He came out from the Pro Series with a top finish in the Pro Series, and now worked his way up for his first season now in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Kenny Humpy comes out, first race in the series, wins Daytona, has won, and in all 3 races we've run so far here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, he has not finished worse than 10th. He has had a top 10 every race so far this season. Worst finish, 7th place.
You get to see Michael Johnson do some work here in the number 39 car as he is trying to hold off the 69 of Peter Bennett. And just in front of him is the 80 of Brandon Cattell. Cattell runs in position number 24 right now, and that is actually your second place point man as Michael J. Johnson tries to reel him in. The 39, nice looking paint job on that race car, fast track sims on it, and a new camera angle for the quote-unquote in-car camera, or in-house camera, I guess we can call it, Tony, on the 39. And he has to hold off that number 69 here down across the line. 53 laps complete.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you'd call that. On-board, in-house, in-cockpit. I don't really know. We need to come up with a name for that. That's absolutely it. We need to come up with a big name. Whoa, Brad Davies. Hello, the 11 car right in front of him. Big issue off turn 2. He was all kinds of sideways and crab walking for a moment down the back straightaway. That car had a hospital wobble to it, to say the least, but he has got substantial damage, and Davies now apparently losing speed because of it, but Brad Davies does not bring out the yellow. However, his day might be severely hampered, Joe, after that issue off turn number 2. Looks like a lot of cars now really starting to lose the handle off the second corner, or for that matter, the fourth corner, whether they're getting extremely tight or extremely loose. Either way, the handle is going away as the tires wear and the fuel load burns off.
More trouble on that from that group as Tom Lewandowski gets wiggles during 3 and 4, causing the 54 to check up. That 54, Brandon Bowie, the Slip Angle Motorsports Ford, having some problems navigating the turn as a result. You watch around the 39 machine of Michael J. Johnson. He's right in the middle of that hornet's nest. He is right in the middle of that pack, and one false move by any of these guys, and it's going to be lights out for a lot of them. 54 still wiggling. The 11 of Brad Davies looking like he's got a huge mess in that 11 machine, and now Rich Doucette might be dropping back just a touch.
That would be your 7th place car, as he has Byron Daly looking to the inside of the draw tight number 1. And now look who's creeping into the picture. Hello, Nick Ottinger. Ottinger to the inside of the number 1 as he fights for position.
Whoa!
Almost a little contact there as one tried to throw that block on the 05. And the 05 is now looking once again to try to take that position away. That could have been big.
Yellow flag is out.
Oh, and caution is out. Trouble on the speedway, and that's exactly what everybody here wanted. It looks like Alex Scribner might have caught a piece of it, but certainly the number 23 machine of Brandon Hoff, Cody Bias also involved in this one again. Michael Johnson, we were just on board with, and it all started right when the number 11 of Brad Davies appeared to slow to come to pit road. Johnson had no warning, and he had Peter Bennett stuck right up his rear bumper, shoving him into the wreck, and that just created a huge chain reaction. Johnson caught the wall, Hoff caught a piece of it, and Brandon Bowie just destroyed his machine. Really about 6 or 7 cars, Joe, all caught a piece of it, as this is the big one here at Texas. They say things are larger and bigger in the Lone Star State, and the pit stop sequence accidents, well, they're no exception.
Accidents, definitely no exception. Almost looked like a super speedway Talladega style wreck there on the front stretch. The 23, 54 all trying to check up around that 11 machine, who did announce several times he was coming down pit road, so not sure why it was a surprise. But guys, this is also could be why iRacing instituted that rule that says you have to come down pit road off the backstretch.
I don't know if we can get a look at that wreck from the 89 of Landon Harrison, but that was pretty exciting as he was coming through the infield. And speaking about infield, we're about to see some pit stops out in front of the field. We got the 5, the 58, the 2, the 12, the 47, and the rest of the field coming down. I think the only guys that are staying out at this point are those guys that are 1 or more laps behind the pace. It's just a matter of who takes what. We expect 4 tires and fuel. We'll see if anybody decides to gamble.
I don't anticipate we'll see anybody gambling just yet. It's been too long of a run. We've seen grip is at a premium, just like the Sprint Cup Series race yesterday. So it will be 4 tires and a full tank of fuel from Mike Connie. He is down and away, service complete. Kenny Humpy, lightning quick. He might win the race off pit road. It's neck and neck. There's Ray Alfalla and Joey Brown right there as well, but I think Humpy got the advantage and beat him off pit road. So good job to the Kenny Humpy, Brad Keselowski crew. What a job on his part, doing his job as the driver to get in the stall. And, of course, the crew did work very, very quickly, getting Kenny Humpy now out to the point.
Taking a look, I took a look at that replay, and Humpy's crew just ridiculously fast out there, knowing the stakes out there, knowing what it would mean to start leading some laps here with his new sponsorship on the 58 machine. And he does, in fact, it looks like the 58 does make it off pit road just in front of the 5, the 2, the 12. So the good news for Humpy is he does have the top spot. The bad news is he cannot breathe a sigh of relief just yet, because look who he's got behind him immediately on his back bumper. He's going to have the likes of Michael Connie, Ray Alfalla, Chris Oberlin, Chad Lawton. Oh, and by the way, Nick Ottinger, Tyler Hudson in the top 10.
They took a pit stop. We will as well. We'll have about 100 laps to go when we come back to the Texas Motor Speedway. You're watching the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Welcome back to the Texas Motor Speedway. We work caution on lap number 62. Lights atop the iRacing pace car are out. So next time by, we'll go racing. Kenny Humpy and Michael Conti lined up side by side. Alfala, Brown, Overland top 5. Chad Lawton will line up in 6th. In that beautifully painted Mason Baker Designs Viper Technologies number 26. Get a shot of that possibly here. New paint job for the number 26. Nick Ottinger in 7th. 8th is Tyler Hudson. 9th is Byron Daly. And former Pro Series champion Alex Warren completes your top 10 as we get ready to see the green flag once again. We still have, of our 43 starters, we have 35 of them on the lead lap. We got 3 cars that are 2 laps down, and I got 3 cars or so that are 3-4 laps down. There's 2 retirees in the race. Actually, I stand corrected. 1 retiree, Brian Schoenberg, is still out on the racetrack at this point, 15 laps behind the pace. Kenny Humpy getting ready to put the hammer down here with the 5 of Mike Conti to his outside pace car in at 58. Is on it early. Green flag flies, and we are back underway. Here comes the 2 of Alfala. The 5 slams the door after the start finish line, and now the 2 going after the 5 for second.
Alfala going to end up in that 3rd spot for the time being off of turn number 2, but he now is going to set his sights on Mike Conti as they are all kinds of sideways and tight quarters off turn number 2. Speaking of standing corrected, Tim, we do want to make a note. We did errantly say there was a rule about entering the pits in turn 3 here at Texas. That is not the case. Now, some leagues on iRacing, which are independently run, do have rules like that, but there is no rule here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series mandating that you must enter pit road at Texas in turn number 3. So we apologize for that error, but that would explain why Brad Davies didn't receive any other sort of penalties or otherwise for that incident. So, yeah, you can pit off turn 4 just like the big boys do, Joe.
Well, I stand corrected then, and I appreciate the officials giving us the official ruling on that. Brandon Hoff back down on pit road. Kenny Humpy still up front. Connie second. Alfala, Joey Brown, Chris Overland, your top 5, all the way back through the position number 20. It looks like everybody's single file. Everybody just getting some heat on these tires. I don't think cold tires are something you really want to mess with out here on the track. One guy's going to try it, though, is Adam Gilliland, but he is back in position number 15. So Gilliland looking like he needs a little bit of help with that 8 machine out there. The Gary Mercer Trucking Chevy not looking like he's in a prime position right now.
Brandon Cattell to his inside, the number 8 and 80. Have had some bad blood in the past. We'll see if there's anything here. Note the 80 going to go through on the 8, possibly. The Josh Berry machine now looking low as well. So Adam Gilliland looking to go backwards. Probably not his choice to go backwards, but he's not going to find a spot in line here for at least a little while. 33 of Brian Blackford also going to go down to the inside as well. Michael Conti is on the hunt. The 5 car up on the 58 as the 12 makes the move on the 2 just behind them for position number 3. They're getting racy up in front as the 2 looks again at the 12 for position number 3.
Alfala trying to work his way forward as opposed to backward as he was just relegated to that 4th spot. Chris Overland, and I think the guy they're all worried about at the moment, Nick Ottinger in 6th, but if I was everybody up front, I wouldn't be looking out the mirror, I'd be looking out the windshield because the guys behind you can't beat you. They're behind you. The guy in front of you in that Reese tow power machine, yeah, he's starting to tow the field right now and absolutely lay it to him, Kenny Humpy. The only guy that seems to have anything for him might be Michael Conti. And what's scary here, Joe, is that Humpy reeled in the leaders in that last run from 3 seconds back. Now he's out front, which means he only has one place to go, and that is forward. Speaking of forward, once again, underneath of Joey Brown, the 12. Let's move Alfala back to position number 3. Brown to 4, and now maybe Chris Overland might be trying to stick his nose in there as well. Nothing yet. Joey Brown's going to slam the door.
Kenny Humpy still up front. Michael Conti starting to break away from the rest of the field, and a lot of the group, the top group, now starting to heat up. Alfala in that group, Joey Brown in that group, Chris Overland, Nick Ottinger, and last year's champion Tyler Hudson. He is now catching up to that pack and trying to make something work in here in a hurry. Rich Doucette, Byron Daly, Alex Warren rounding out your top 10. And if I'm up front, I'm not really worried about this group yet, but as soon as these guys start hooking up and start trying to get a line together, they could start challenging your leaders very quickly. You're right on board. The 05 of Nick Ottinger. You see Chris Overland and Joey Brown in front of him, and I've got a feeling these guys are just going to try to hold the line, see if they can't make some deals to hook up, and then start infighting amongst themselves, not for third place, not for fourth place, but for the lead.
We saw Kenny Humpy run away by himself earlier in this race to catch the top 3 and get there before that caution flag flew. And now Ray Alfala just passed Joey Brown, and now he's trying to pull away from Joey Brown in 4th and the rest of the field, and looks like he's gapped them by a few car lengths. Whether he can catch the top 2 is a different story or not. But Tony, here's the thing. Do you go and do you have that mentality that we're going to go green for possibly another green flag pit stop or a green flag pit stop? We almost got to one there a few moments ago. Oh, Ottinger and Hudson back there going to the inside, and could be a couple of blocks road, and Hudson sends the 05 of Nick Ottinger into the fence. Caution flag will fly, and feelings are about to be hurt.
Byron Daly caught a piece of it. Rich Doucette got sideways. I think their damage is minor and cosmetic, but yeah, feelings are about to get hurt, and really not sure exactly what transpired there. Yeah, Hudson got a major run off turn 2. It looked like Ottinger decided to throw the block. Hudson was going to have none of it and went ahead and stuck his nose maybe where he shouldn't have, but that nearly took out Byron Daly and Rich Doucette behind him. Both those drivers made contact, but did a fantastic job to hold on to their machines, but there are going to be some people rather PO'd about that one, I guess, for lack of a better term. But Ottinger and Hudson, for that matter, I think that one was very, very avoidable, Joe. I think that Tyler could have easily cracked the throttle, given Nick the lane, and would have avoided that issue. But instead, he stuck his nose in there, and it might be a little too early to do that.
Yeah, it really all starts with the 05, hooks the apron, going through turns 1 and 2 with a tailwind behind him, doesn't help him, and he just goes out for the ride. Now, here's what confuses me about it. The 01 of Tyler Hudson, he could have easily gone high, got around the 05. Instead, he elects to go low. He elects to try to go underneath the 05. 05 chases him down there, and then the 01 sticks his nose in, and that's when the 05 Ottinger goes for a ride. Guys, these are the incidents you remember. These are the incidents that get stuck in your head, get stuck on replay over and over and over again. And the hardest part about it is you're going to see the 05 now stewing on that one a little bit. And if I were the 01, I would do everything I can to avoid the 05 on track. Everybody down on pit road.
4 tires for Humpy. This may be where we see somebody test the waters with 2. And I believe we did see a couple with 2. They're down and away, but the 58 of Humpy going to take 4. Conti, I believe Tony may have taken 2.
Yeah, he was way out ahead of everybody else. So it looks like Michael Conti, 2 tires. I guess you're out front. That's the place to try it. I don't know if I would have, because there's really not a whole lot to gain, but a whole heck of a lot to lose if you're Michael Conti. Nonetheless, I guess if you're going to try it, you might as well try it now. We saw it did for Brian Vickers and for Jeff Gordon on yesterday's race. Might as well see what it will do for you if you're stuck in a very similar situation. Now, we're going to watch this on board with Tyler Hudson, Joe, and you can see that, yeah, maybe Nick Ottinger shouldn't have pinched him, but by the same token, I think Tyler Hudson wasn't quite up far enough. If I had to place blame, I'd have to do it on Tyler. I think he could have maybe been a little bit smarter in that situation.
I still really am confused, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. It's just something doesn't add up in my head here. It just doesn't make sense why the 01 wouldn't go around. Why it wouldn't go around on the high side? You see, he had all that room on the high side. He had all the real estate in the world. He could have put a house with a 3-car garage on the high side.
Joe, have you watched this race so far? The top absolutely sucks. That's why, I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it just seems that the way this race has gone, nobody's been able to do anything up top, and Tyler Hudson knew that, and he said, you know what, I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to put myself in that situation, and that's why he went to the bottom, I think.
Discretion, though, Tony, is the better part of valor in that situation, and there was plenty of time for the 01 to either go around on the high side or recover on the high side and let the 05 make the mistake once again, because the 05 was already limping at that point. The 05 was making his own mistakes, and the 01 could have very easily capitalized off the 05.
I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to add one more thing to this mix, though. It's lap 72 that this wreck happened. There's still just under 100 laps to go. There's no need to push the issue if you're Tyler Hudson. Yes, I understand somebody in front of you gets loose. There's no need to follow him all the way down the racetrack and put that nose underneath him going into the corner, knowing the full field is behind you. And the worst guys that got the worst end of this, the one of Rich Doucette, the 93 of Byron Daly. The one thing I will give Tyler Hudson and Nick Ottinger a little bit of credit for within the racing server with their peers and a couple of their iRacing friends watching this race within the racing server, there was no chirping going on between Tyler Hudson and Nick Ottinger, which you would think after a wreck, especially going for a top 10 position, those guys would be going back and forth. There was a little discussion between the 93 and the 1 about what had happened, and there was a couple of guys discussing about what had happened, and I know Rich Doucette was one of those guys that brought up that it was lap number 72 when it happened, but there was no chirping going on between the 01 and the 05, and we know with this series, there's live officials, there's live admins within this series. I'm sure that would have been frowned upon if it did happen. So if there's anything good to come out of that, Tony, there's probably going to be no penalties for the mouth running following the wreck.
No, but there might be penalties. Maybe not admin given, but maybe driver imposed once it's all said and done. Because you know Nick Ottinger just put that one in the memory bank, and it has got a big key for that safe deposit box, and he will pull it out when he needs to use it and say, oh yeah, remember Texas? Yeah, this is payback for that one. It won't happen anytime soon, but it might happen when Tyler Hudson least expects it. Yeah, if you're Byron Daly, as we get ready to go back green, I'm telling you, it's starting to almost look like he and Parker Kligerman have got the same type of luck. That's just the way Byron's season has gone so far. Same with Parker's, too. We need to find these guys a 4-leaf clover or something, Joe.
A lucky rabbit's foot, maybe?
Something.
Tyler Hudson, once again, getting back on the loud pedal, getting back to aggressive driving, almost cuts off the nose of Brandon Hawk. Meanwhile, back up front, Michael Conti with the 2 tires can hold on to the lead. It will go back once again to Kenny Humpy. He will get the lead. And now here comes the 2 of Ray Alfalla, your pole sitter Joey Brown, looking to make the jailbreak party as well. So Michael Conti goes from 1st to 4th. How the king has fallen.
Now the 5 is going to try to find a spot in the line. The 12 and the 47. He finds a spot in the line there, Tony, but the 47 may have been a little bit cautious, maybe let him into line there.
Again, what lap are we on? Lap 79 of 167. So, yes, he also knows that Conti has got 2 tires, which hasn't proven to be very advantageous, and he'll have a shot maybe to get back by him. A little bit further back, Josh Berry, Adam Gilliland, Brandon Cattell, they're still finding each other, and they've just about found each other's bumpers as they worked off in turn number 4. In fact, even further behind them, Davies, Sturgis, and company, they all getting spread out and nearly into each other. It's getting really hectic back to the field. It's almost like it's rush hour already.
Yeah, this is not going to end well for somebody out there, and it's only a matter of time before that bomb goes off, guys. Cody Bias wiggled it off of turns number 1 and 2. Now here comes the 29 machine, and he's got a little bit of new life out there himself. The 29 of Kevin King, he's really, I think the new sponsorship is really affecting his racing and how he's doing out there, as he's now worked his way up to position number 7 from all the way back to 25th. Then there's Brian Day in the Plan B sales car. He's got a little Plan B going himself as he's found his way into the top 10.
You got to remember that number 4 of Brian Day, he's had to qualify for every single one of these races. He's had to be up on the wheel and qualifying in order to lock himself into each and every one of these shows. He's done that, and Tony, not only has he done that, he's also raced well as well. He sits 8th here this evening. He's 11th in the point standings. If there's one driver that's really fought for every single point, every single piece of real estate this season, it's the 4-car of Brian Day in that Plan B sales Chevrolet, and he's looking at the number 29 and Kevin King just in front of him. Hats off to him in the first 3 and, well, half races so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job. He's had some bad luck a couple of times, but he's been solid. He's run well, and his program's really starting to pick up. So certainly kudos to Brian Day for being able to do that, as he now still continues to run inside the top 10 with a car that looks fairly sporty as it continues to work forward. And I think, Tim, he was one of those guys that got caught out early on the outside, and we realized very quickly, and he realized very quickly, I can't let that happen again. The good news for him, though, Joe, it happened early. he's been able to recover. He's done a solid job, but I think he also set the tone, like he said, that everybody realizes you do not want to be on the top side no matter what. For whatever reason, tonight, the top side is just not there. And I don't know if it's because these cars are so equally matched. I don't know if it's because they're taxing the tires that hard. But for whatever reason, the top side is not there tonight like maybe it has been in races past.
You can ask Tyler Hudson all about that one. That's why he probably didn't want to go up high. As you mentioned.
Exactly.
So Tyler Hudson, now position number 6, is behind him a little bit in fighting going on. Matt Busa gets around the 29 of Kevin King. The third 53 of Brandon Hawk's going to start dropping through the field as he tries that high line, and it's exactly what you said. Running the high side is a very dangerous place to be. The 53 brushes with the high side. Hawk is going to drop even further down in the group. You see him on the rear bumper of that 8 machine of Adam Gillen, who's going to be plus or minus position number 10 when we cross the start-finish line. High side is kind of a wasteland right now. It's not where you want to be, and it's not how you want to be managing it out there.
Looks like the 16 moving up as well as the 53 moves back one more spot. He battles with the 3 of Brandon Schmidt for the position. Thomas Lewandowski in the 16 has a little bit of damage from one of the earlier incidents in this race, but he seems to be moving up well. One thing we do have to mention, Tony, that these drivers do get a little bit of front-end damage to these race cars. They got to worry about overheating with these race cars. Make sure you don't run too much tape or that thing might blow up. I know Mitchell Hunt had an issue with that 2 weeks ago at the Auto Club Speedway, getting a little bit too much tape on the front end of that race car. And actually, he had a little bit too much tape on the real car, I guess, as well. I guess he had some motor issues with his real car. That's why he's not here. If we do get a caution, though, I know he's sitting in the wings waiting to come on and join us here on PSR TV. But Thomas Lewandowski right now in P13 looking to move up.
And for that matter, second place changing hands as well. Ray Alfala nearly got rear-ended by Chris Overland as Overland thought about trying to go for the third spot after Mike Connie got back by Ray Alfala for the runner-up position, and things got a little tight there as well. It's amazing how when you get to a racetrack, one groove is at such a premium, and the grip is at such a premium for that particular line. How many chances these guys take, Joe? We've seen guys sliding into places, into holes that we really didn't think they would fit, and they've stretched a few holes out for that matter where they didn't exactly fit, and were able to somehow slide in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things these guys are trying. They're getting very aggressive early throughout the race tonight. One driver having problems getting aggressive, Brandon Hawk, as he continues just to go down the track. He continues to slide all the way back. He was running top 10 here just a couple laps ago. Now he's running position number 17 as the one of Rich Doucette gets around him. The 82 machine gets around him. And that belongs to Alex Warren. Brian Blackford trying to do the same thing. You roll the dice here, sure, maybe a little bit more than you would at a Vegas or another very competitive track, but rolling the dice here at Texas, one of two things will happen. Either you'll win or you'll lose, but there really is it's a game of absolutes. Either it works or it doesn't, and no matter what you do, you end up paying for it in a big way.
And there's a guy that's having a great run this evening, Chris Overland in the number 47, looking up on this battle for second. We have a three-way dance for P2 right now as the 5, 2, and 47 going at it. The 12 has fallen off the pace a little bit here in this run, at least. Joey Brown in 5th, and then Tyler Hudson about a half second behind him in position number 6. But there's Chris Overland. He won a championship in the Pro Series last season, Tony, and we talk about those Pro Series champions. They come in and they usually don't have a whole lot of luck. Alex Warren, Chad Lawton, and then you have Chris Overland, and Overland has held up his end of the deal so far. Overland 15th in the point standings. Yeah, it's not where he, I'm sure, wants to be in the HD Radio Network double clutch number 47, but running 4th right now with some of the best sim racers in the world. He's got to be happy with it.
Oh, I think so, Tim. There's no reason not to be happy, and really, for that matter, with a car that's capable, I think, of finishing in the top 2, possibly. That's always a good thing, but kind of like any of these big, long races, you don't want to show everything you got just yet. And I think everybody knows what Kenny Humphrey might have, and they might be trying to work towards chasing down that number 58 machine, Joe. And that could be a bad thing if you're Kenny Humphrey, unless you, too, have a little bit still left in the tank. that's one thing I love about longer races like this. It gives you a chance to strategize and kind of play a little bit of games and have some gamesmanship along the way. It's not all about just matting the throttle and going hard left as fast as you can for 50 laps. It allows you to really work it mentally, and that's one thing that, in my opinion, makes a really good race.
They call this playing chess at 200 miles per hour, and that's exactly what these guys are doing. As you see the 58 of Kenny Humby get around the 55 of Ryan Schoenberg. These guys are playing chess at breakneck speeds out there, and they really only have a fraction of a second out there to decide where they want to go, how they want to move, and what they need to do to advance their position. You saw it, it's a great example of this again. That situation with Tyler Hudson and Nick Ottinger. They got into it because Tyler Hudson made that decision in that one moment. He had no opportunity to second guess. He had to go with it. He had to run with it, and for him it paid off. He's now running in that top group. The 0-1 now running 6. Did not work out for the 0-5 as he ended up 29th right now.
Yeah, and Tony mentioned it, though. There might be some memory logs made of that incident, and you look at it right now, Nick Ottinger is 9 seconds off the pace, sitting in position number 29. Tyler Hudson is sitting in position number 6. The only time that they may come up on each other is if something happens that Tyler Hudson ends up back there for some reason, or if Nick Ottinger ends up getting lapped later on in this run, if this does go green to the finish. And speaking about run, I think somebody had a run-in with the wall back there. That was Kevin King. Kevin King got up close and personal with the fence, and here comes Brandon Cattell and Josh Berry underneath the Cooper Standard, number 29, so we'll move him back 2 more spots.
Yeah, Kevin King, for whatever reason, has not been quite up to the pace of his teammates Rich Doucette and Kenny Humphey tonight. Now, Doucette is mired back in traffic at about 17th as the 53 machine of Brandon Hoff. He ends up catching the concrete once again. Same with Tyler Laughlin, also catching a piece of it. But Kevin King has just not quite been up to speed tonight, it seems like, Joe. And I don't know if that's just an issue with, as you watch the replay now between Hawk and Laughlin, but I don't know if it's an issue where Kevin King just doesn't like this racetrack, or if the setup doesn't quite suit him, or what the case is, but he seemed to be a little bit off so far tonight. I mean, he's been running good, don't get me wrong, but you're running 11th and 12th, like the rest of your guys in the team are running 1st and 3rd or 2nd and 5th. It's got to play with you just a little bit, maybe to wonder, what's going on.
Kevin King just seems to be running a little bit off all season. Granted, he's got 1 top 10 on the season. He's currently sitting 14th in points. The good news is he can keep showing up to the track. The bad news is this is not the Kevin King we have seen in years past. This is not the multi-time DMV champion. This is not the Kevin King that was inaugural part of the series. This is not the Kevin King we associate with iRacing. So, I don't know what needs to happen right now for the guy 14th in points, but something needs to happen, and something needs to happen quick for Kevin, because he doesn't really, because with that big sponsor on the hood with Cooper Standard and Brad Keselowski Racing coming along board with Kevin King, there's a lot more on his shoulders now, and there's a lot more that he's got to run for out there.
So he's falling back a couple more spots here now, as the 29 will fall 1 more and possibly 1 more to that, as here comes Adam Gilliland and the Gary Mercer Trucking number 8 to the inside. They'll come up on Danny Hansen. This might put them 3 wide for a moment. It looks like 29 will fall back behind the 8, and Danny Hansen will fall back behind these guys in the battered up Pro Geek Ford. Another tough break for Danny Hansen this evening. You see the top 4 up front. It's Kenny Humphey, leading by about 0.6 of a second over Mike Conti, Ray Alfala, and Chris Overland. And Joey Brown has now fallen to 1.5 seconds off this pace. And Tyler Hudson, who was running in the top 5 or just outside the top 5, has fallen back to position number 8 behind Matt Busa and Brian Day. We touched on Brian Day's good run earlier, Tony. It continues to get better. The 4 car has moved his way up to position number 6, and he is trying to chase down Joey Brown in front of him, and I think Brown may be coming back to the field a little bit compared to going forward.
I think you might be right. It's kind of what we saw in the first run of the race. Brown's good for about the first half of the run, and then the car falls off. Now being shown 5th, and he's being inhaled by Brian Day, Matt Busa and company. and Kenny Humphrey, for that matter, now starting to pull away from the field as the run goes on. So similar things that we saw a little bit earlier in the evening as Thomas Lewandowski now tries the hold slide job off turn 2 to hold on to it. As he now under fire from Adam Gilliland, who goes by on the outside briefly. Kevin King right there as well, and Lewandowski's car not handling up to par, just like we talked about, Joe. Turn 2 kind of seems to be the trouble spot here tonight. If something crazy is going to happen, that seemed to be where it starts at, with guys either losing the nose or losing the back end, and that sort of precipitates everything else that happens in the next 10 seconds.
Lewandowski able to get around Gilliland cleanly, and Kevin King going to come around for the ride as well in that Cooper Standard Chevrolet. Tom Lewandowski, another driver who has found success here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, but another driver who's looking a little lackluster this season and definitely wants to pick it up as we continue green flag racing. Gilliland right now in the middle of quite the sandwich there. Kevin King in front, Rich Doucette 2 positions back in the draw tight Chevrolet. Another one of those drivers benefiting from the Brad Keselowski Racing partnership. Back up front, change now for position number 2. It's going to be Ray Alfalla, the 2-time champion, back in position number 2 in the number 2 car.
So move Ray Alfalla to position number 2. He is about a second now behind Kenny Humphrey as that exchange happened. And he's leading a couple of the young guns of the series, Tony. When you look at Mike Conti, he just turned 17, had his 17th birthday this past week. Chris Overland is right in that age bracket as well, as he goes underneath the number 5 to pick up one more spot, so move the 47 up to position number 3. The 5 will move back to position number 4. So it looks like maybe a short run setup on that number 5, because he's falling back a little bit here at this point, or maybe could he be trying to conserve fuel at this point? I think they only have to make one more stop from here.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to be conserving fuel. He stopped at about lap 75, so you're pretty much going to have to make one more stop regardless. So I think Connie is just simply has the car going away. But you're talking about the young guns in this series, Tim, and it's something that I think bears repeating, that we've got people of all ages in this field, whether they're 16, 17 years old, all the way up to older than that, 30s, 40s, I mean, plausibly in their 50s and so on, throughout the entire iRacing service that can make their way into the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. It's really a sport that encompasses all ages, and for that matter, pretty much all incomes as well. You don't have to have a gross ton of money to come race on iRacing. You could have a meager fare and a simple job and be racing in an internationally recognized NASCAR series. That's what's so cool about this and how you can work your way up. Michael Connie's proof of it, and our champions in the past, Ray Alfalla, Tyler Hudson, Richard Towler, they all got big money that they never dreamed they would get for racing anything. And they got the recognition from NASCAR, they got the trip to Homestead, all really, really cool stuff. And that's one of the neat things that iRacing brings to everybody, is that opportunity. And Joe, on top of that now with Peak's involvement, they're also taking the champion from this series last year, which was Tyler Hudson, and one other driver to give them a shot at a real car in the Peak Stock Car Dream Challenge number 2. And that contest really, really got popular in the last week or two when Patrick Staropoli won a NASCAR K&N Pro Series West race at Irwindale, something he never dreamed of doing a year ago. He was barely able to afford a late model out of his own garage, and now here he is racing with one of the top teams in NASCAR's Regional Development Series and winning races. Just think about that. In a year, we could be talking about a Tyler Hudson winning a K&N Pro Series West race at Irwindale or Phoenix or somewhere.
You know, it really just goes to show how advanced technology has gotten and how advanced this simulation has gotten. Now this is more than just a video game. This is just more than something you do for fun. This is now being used and utilized as a training tool for the big leagues. Guys who want to improve their skill sets, guys who want to really improve their craft and get as much wheel time as they can before they climb into a real cockpit, can now use this simulation as just that, a simulation for what is they're going to really face when they go on track. This is more than just a game now, guys. This is a teaching tool. This is a utility that guys can rely on to continue to improve their skill set and get the skills they need to go racing in a real car. And also, in the case of some of these guys, in case of the Plan B, in case of the wheel group you're talking about, Tony, make those connections you need to go racing in the real world.
Michael Conti onto pit road in car number 5. We'll see what he does on his pit stop, and he's one of those drivers usually when we do see that green flag pit stop sequence begin, that he's one of those drivers that we usually see on pit road first. But this might be as well, Tony, needing an adjustment to that race car, because it looked like that thing fell off in the last few laps.
Yeah, he knows everybody's got to pit once again. I think he's going to take the gamble and short pit, try to take advantage of brand new sticker tires before everybody else has to, and maybe once everything cycles around, get a quick caution, get track position, and have a short run to the finish. Also on pit road, the number 8 machine, Adam Killen, the Gary Mercer Trucking sponsored entry. He is down at 45 miles per hour to the attention of his crew. He'll hit the marks on the pit box, and the crew will go around. What we anticipate, once again, will be a 4-tire stop. Service complete now on the right side, and it looks like, yes, in fact, the left side will go up. So 4 tires and fuel for Adam Gilliland. He's now down and away.
Rich Doucette, the number 1 draw tire machine, now coming down pit road, and look for the same out of him. 4 tires, full tank of fuel, and he should be down and away relatively quickly out there, as quick as they will let them go. Overland now in second, as these positions start to switch around as a result of the pit stops.
Yeah, Overland going to take position number 2 away from Ray Alfala and begin to pull away, actually, 2 car lengths or so between your second and third place driver, but it's still about a second and a quarter between your top 2 drivers. Kenny Humpy continues to pick him up and lay him down up in front, as a couple of more cars coming down pit road, including the number 3 of Brandon Schmidt, going to come down to the attention of his crew this time by, and I believe next time by we're going to see the hand out the window from Brian Day.
Yep, Brian Day indicating he will be coming down pit road this time. And in fact, here he is peeling off the 24 degrees of banking in turn number 4. Chad Lawton just a couple of car lengths behind. He'll be mimicking the Plan B sales machine as Day, career best run in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series here at Texas, slowly down to the attention of his crew. He'll cross the stripe and put lap 118 on the board for him. That's going to leave him about 49 laps until the end of this one, so he should be able to make it to the end of the race. Brian Day, right side service complete, now around to the left side as your leader. Chris, check that, Kenny Humpy now on pit road, Joe.
Kenny Humpy coming down to the attention of his crew, and this should be the final stop he needs to make it the rest of the way. Chris Overland inherits the lead as the 58 comes down pit road. The 2 of Ray Alfala now making his intentions clear. He wants to come down pit road. 47 might be coming as well. 27 of Cody Bias comes down pit road as well. Kenny Humpy, 4 tires, full tank of fuel, down and away for the Reese Tow Power Chevrolet.
Chris Overland leads a lap, and now he is down on pit road in the Menards number 47, so he'll come down to the attention of his crew, and that's important. Overland does lead a lap and grabs a bonus point from that exchange. Now Ray Alfala is on top of the board as the 47 will come down and stop in his box. We expect 4 tires and fuel for the number 47 clean into his box. Alfala will stay out this time by. The number 12 and Joey Brown will also stay out. Josh Berry will peel off from position number 3.
So Barry in the Junior Motorsports Speed Coach Truck Loop Chevrolet, down to the attention of his crew, started deep in the field, and he will pull into his stall. And we once again anticipate 4 tires and fuel for the driver who races not only in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series for Junior Motorsports, well, or at least a Junior Motorsports look-alike car, but also in the NASCAR Wheel It All-American Series. So Barry down and away. A little bit of damage still on the front end of his number 88, but it looks like it's minor as far as he and the crew is concerned. So his service complete. What we anticipate will be his final stop of the evening.
Tyler Hudson, the 0-1 machine, coming down pit road this time by for what should be his final stop as well. No surprises for the Peak Antifreeze driver. Should be 4 tires and a full tank of gas for the 0-1 machine. The 29 of Kevin Kingston to come down pit road, and look who also is down on pit road. The 0-5 of Nick Ottinger, the Ream machine, who's been beat up a little bit. Funny he'd come down at the same time as Tyler Hudson.
Ray Alfalla continues to stay out on the racetrack. Joey Brown second, and no surprise there, Jake Sturgis in position number 3, the driver who tends to gamble and stretch his fuel and every opportunity that he can get running in the 3rd place position. That's how he won Vegas. 2-car of Ray Alfalla will stay out on the racetrack this time by. He will complete 124 on the racetrack. Joey Brown will as well, with Sturgis in position at number 3, and it looks like there's about a dozen or so that have yet to make this pit stop, Tony.
And one of those was Thomas Lewandowski, but no longer. He is down for service, 4 tires and fuel on the number 16 machine of Thomas Lewandowski. So it looks like he'll relinquish that spot, and service will be completed on his car momentarily. A couple other drivers up on the top ranks of the field. Byron Daly with some damage, still has not come down pit road yet. Same with Trey Eidson. Joey Brown has not made a visit to pit road yet. Jake Sturgis as well. So as Ray Alfalla continues to stay out, he's doing 2 things, Joe. Number 1, he's spraying for a yellow, so he gets all these guys trapped a lap down, at least momentarily. And B, he's minimizing his last stop to where he takes less fuel and has to spend a little bit less time on pit road, and will have a little bit better grip level, a little bit better tire on his car at the end of the race. He can abuse that car just a little bit more. Yeah, maybe Ray Alfalla might have a key to winning this race right there in the cockpit.
Well, I think you said it right there. I think that's really going to be the proposition for Ray Alfalla. The longer he stays out there, the smaller and smaller his window gets, and he literally only has to stay on pit road long enough to get 4 brand new Goodyear tires underneath him and be down and away. So Ray Alfalla, now I think he's really playing a really smart move, but it's going to be a very dangerous game. Jake Sturgis now comes to the attention of his crew. He pulls into the very first stall on pit road.
It'll move Byron Daly, Trey Eidson, and Ashley Miller up the list into the top 5 as Ray Alfalla continues to lead this thing. We'll see if he comes down pit road this time. No, he will not. He stays out in the racetrack, completes 128 as the leader on the track. Joey Brown and Byron Daly now your top 3. Daly in the Newtelligence Ford. We'll see if he decides to come down here. No, but he is actually, Tony, in a little bit of traffic right now. He's got Josh Berry behind him, who's already pitted. He's got Matt Busa and a bunch of others in front of him right now. So Byron in a little bit of traffic at this point, running in 3rd.
And I think Byron and crew chief Frankie Kimmel, they have decided with the damage in that car that they've got to do something out of the ordinary to try to leapfrog over everybody. You see that car not up to speed of those with new tires, so Byron's just kind of hanging on right now. But Frankie told me something a couple of weeks ago. He said, look, I got Byron to trust me at the race at Las Vegas. And he really didn't want to, but once they had that run, they had that finish, Byron now trusts whatever Frankie does and says. So this is a Frankie Kimmel call, I'm sure, behind the wheel and behind the pit box, that Byron's just following orders, so to speak. But you know what? Doesn't surprise me, because between the 2 of them, they've got pretty good brains on their shoulders.
Hey, when you can combine, when you can win, and you can make these cars work, that's all you need to think about. Let the drivers think about driving the car. Let the crew chiefs, let the guys down on the garage, let them figure out what exactly they need to do to make these cars work. Let the driver focus on what he does best, driving these cars like they stole them. Now Brian Day leading a whole group of cars around him, and now more importantly, the 12 machine, your pole sitter Joey Brown, down on pit road. So the Barley electrical machine going to come to the attention of his crew for what might be the last time tonight. Also coming down pit road, it's going to be the 93 of 3 wide Byron Daly in Newtelligence Ford. 3 in the grass, 3 in the grass up front. The 89 Landon Harrison smoking.
What a move. What a piece of luck. This is just what we talked about, Joe. Holy cow, Tim. Wow, look at Alfalla now. There's 7, 8, 10 cars going to be left on the lead lap.
Yeah, you're going to get some wave arounds out of this too, but the 40 of Josh Lawton is one of those drivers that got involved in that incident. He was coming down pit road that time, Tony, and he was pitting from the 3rd groove on the racetrack in turn 4. I do not know what he was doing. That might be something you see in a low split street stock race or something. That's not a very good move at Josh Lawton's part. Former winner in this series, and he just parking lot partied in turn 4 in front of half the field and brings out the caution.
Yeah, not quite sure what the deal was on that, Tim, but I guess, crazier. I think actually what happened, Tim, was going back and look at the replay. He got on the brakes so hard it overloaded the front tires and actually made the car push. And he really had no option at that point other than to try to get out of the way. But with a whole field bearing down on him, it was rather difficult to do. So tough break for Landon Harrison, who caught a piece of it as well. Ashley Miller, who I think is going to get penalized with the longest line penalty possibly from that one. But if you're Byron Daly or anybody that stayed out like a Joey Brown, guess what? You get to stay on the lead lap. And now if you're Byron Daly, you get to come down and fix some of that damage with very minimal loss of track position. Although I take that back, it looks like Byron might have gotten lapped when he came down pit road by Ray Alfala. So unofficially, I think, Joe, it's going to leave about, figuring about 6 cars on the lead lap, a bunch of cars eligible to take the wave around.
More importantly, Ray Alfala now down on pit road, and he does exactly what we predicted he would. 4 tires, just enough fuel to fix those 4 tires, down and away. Ashley Miller coming off pit road. Josh Lawton off pit road. Trey Edson comes off pit road. A couple other drivers, including Brad Mahar, Peter Bennett coming down pit road, this time by Brandon Hawk, Landon Harrison, all coming in the attention of their crew. But now the man that was leading that 2 machine of Ray Alfala, he's got the newest tires. He's got the freshest tires. He's got all the fuel he needs in the world. Alfala really sitting, looking like the cat who ate the canary out there, as he just got the perfect situation to get him where he needs to be, and ultimately in a great position to win this race.
Wild card in this mix, maybe Kenny Humpy, though, guys, as he was one of those 6 that Tony alluded to. He's out on the racetrack right now, and he is in position number, I believe that would be 2nd behind Ray Alfala. So I think the 58 car might have something here for this run. Yes, we saw Alfala very strong, but we also seen Kenny Humpy on that long green flag run stretch his legs a little bit, and Kenny Humpy is going to come back onto pit road at this point. And Tony, why not? You're going to get some wave around cars, but you're going to start no worse than probably 5th when we do go green.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're Humpy, you might as well come in, get 4 tires, check out, top off the fuel, make any adjustments you want to make, and go ahead and have a fresh shot at it, because you've only got a few guys you're racing. Josh Lawton with damage, he's not going to be an issue. Brad Mahar, he's been kind of in the back all night, so you're probably going to have to deal with him very much. So, yeah, if you're Kenny Humpy, smart move. And really now what this race has come down to, barring another quick caution flag, Joe, is a 2 or 3 horse race. If you get another quick caution flag, that changes everything, because now all these wave around cars can get back to the back of the lead lap behind the leaders where they originally were. But if this race stays green, I think it's Ray Alfala versus Kenny Humpy at this point. I really see nobody else that's going to have a valiant chance to challenge these two.
It's going to be, really, at this point, a battle of equals, a clash of the titans, if you will. 2 drivers who have really proved their mettle so far this season, Alfala and Humpy. And really, whoever walks away from this one, they're going to walk away with so much more than just a win. They're going to walk away with a huge confidence boost and walk away with a huge points boost that's really going to carry them not only for the next 2 weeks into the next race, but more importantly, going to give them that extra jump they need to start their camp, to really jumpstart their campaign early. Every rivalry you could think of here, past champion versus super champion, Ford versus Chevy, everything's going to really come into play here these last handful of laps as the wave around party takes place. Everybody and their mother getting around the pace car.
And that's all but about 8 or 9 cars in this field that are taking the wave around at this point. I see Josh Lawton has his car repaired, so he will start in position number 7, it looks like here. And then you got a bunch of guys that are catching up to the rear of this field, and they better hustle, because we're getting ready to go green on lap 137. We'll complete 136 here, so we'll have 31 laps to go when we do see the green flag this time by. It'll be Ray Alfala and Trey Eidson on the front row, Kenny Humpy, Peter Bennett, and Brad Mahar completing your top 5 as the iRacing Ford Mustang pace car getting ready to head to the infield here. And we'll see what transpires in the final 31 laps. Ray Alfala is on the hammer. Green flag flies. We're back underway. and we'll see how long it takes Kenny Humpy to get back towards the front of the field. He's on the outside of Peter Bennett. He'll take third.
Not for long. It's right 5 minutes. Now he's going to stalk that number 6 machine of Trey Eidson, the Legends car driver out of South Carolina, who also now races in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series. So Eidson's got some time behind the physical wheel as well as the virtual wheel here. And you see that car start to wash up a little bit. Humpy all over his back bumper. And I think now is the time that Kenny starts to make a little bit of hay. And he might get a little aggressive if he has to move Trey Eidson out of the way because, well, Humpy knows he's got the car to beat, I think, at this point, Joe. But he's got the 6 machine in the leg. He's starting to lose a little bit of ground to Ray Alfala. And you know, Humpy, with where are we at now? 29 laps to go this time. Can't be wanting to do any favors for anybody in front of him.
Doesn't want to do any favors for anyone behind him either. That's the big thing to keep in mind here. Everybody's trying to get that spot they need. Everyone's trying to do everything they can to get the position they want. Eidson doing everything he can to hold back Kenny Humpy, but it might just be too little too late as Humpy continues to look low, continues to knock on the back door of the 6 machine, and Eidson so far unrelenting with that second place position, but Humpy just doing everything he can to try to nose under the 6 and make that move.
And looking now through the double dog leg, and I believe the 58 may have it here, the 6 to the outside, 58 to the inside, and Kenny Humpy will pick up position number 2. And don't discount the run that the 6 car is having. Top 3 run, has had some bad luck at the start of this season, had some bad luck in pro, but got his ticket to this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, and now doing pretty good. He was running within the top 15 before we had those green flag pit stops, and now working up in position number 3. Great run for the 6.
And caution out, Tim. This is exactly what all those wave-around cars needed. And we've got Nick Ottinger and Tyler Hudson look like maybe going at it once again. Ottinger certainly caught a piece of it. And it looked like Ottinger maybe tried to get in front of, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but it's almost a carbon copy, a mirror of what happened before. Byron Daly nearly, almost the same exact group of cars right around him, but Nick Ottinger in the wall once again. Not sure if that was Ottinger on the brakes harder than maybe normal, or if Tyler thought he was doing something and decided to kind of sail it off in there on him, but either way, it just didn't work at it, and this might get really ugly, Joe.
Wow, a lot of jabber going on right now between those 2 drivers with their 2 crews. Ottinger trying to asking his crew what exactly happened with the 0-1. The 0-1 telling his crew the 0-5 got in my way, and he got exactly what he had coming to him, plus or minus what he said. But the 0-1 and the 0-5, this is a rivalry I did not see coming this year, guys. And after tonight, this is definitely going to be a rivalry you're going to want to watch.
Tony, did you steal my popcorn earlier in the race? Because I have a feeling that we're going to need it before the end of this one. I remember I said earlier that I didn't think anything was going to happen unless the 0-1 ended up back there or something. Exactly. You must have ate it all there, did you?
There's a couple kernels left for you.
Oh, okay. Well, you see the 0-5 coming down into pit road, and we mentioned that little chirping battle that Joe Cortez had said with the 2 drivers within the server. Really impressed with the 0-5. Kind of took the high road there when him and Tyler Hudson were going back and forth, and Tyler essentially said, you did the same thing earlier and I'd do it again. So we'll have to see how that transpires. And maybe not in this race, Tony, but maybe in future races. We are coming down to the end of it. We are coming down to almost 20 laps to go. Could it happen again? Yeah, it could happen again this week. Yeah. But, these race car drivers, they tend to have these memories that keep going on and on and on, right?
And they just get more and more large in your memory the more time goes on, because you realize, I didn't pay the guy back yet. And now, that safe deposit box that Nick Ottinger stored that in, well, he just got the entire safe, because it is magnified in his brain, I guarantee you, as far as what happened. But we'll talk about that and more when we come back. Pit stops ensuing. We'll reset the lineup for you when we come back. You're watching the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series at Texas Motor Speedway. Don't go away.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing. Welcome back to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. We are getting ready to go green. Trey Eidson looking to take his first win in the series, leading his first career laps in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. We got Peter Bennett to the outside in second, Brandon Hawk in third, Joey Brown, and Byron Daly, your top 5. Humpy, Alfala, Mahar, King, and Conti, your top 10. We have 29 drivers on the lead lap, 2 drivers 1 lap down, including Nick Ottinger and Rob Ackley. As the pace car about to head off here, we will complete lap 144 at the stripe. It's getting down to go time, and if the gloves weren't off already between the 01 and the 05, I have a feeling there's going to be more feeling certain these last 20 or so laps. Green flag flies, and the 69 did not go on the outside line.
Oh, no, he did not go, and that's going to put him on the top of the sandwich. Look at Joey Brown right there in the middle. Byron Daly gets by, as they are scattered all over the place behind him. But that's good news for your Trey Eidson. It gets you further and further away from those who you know might have a chance to beat you. People like Ray Alfala, people like Kenny Humpy as another car catches a piece of the wall in turn number 3. Here we go, 3 and 4 wide. Chad Lawton, Kevin King, Matt Busa. Oh, it's getting crazy in turn number 1, Joe.
Getting even crazier as Overland almost makes it 3 wide once again on the field. They're not going to make it work. They're going to try to get back in line out here. But once again, it's a bit of house of have not. Connie just hit the wall. The 93 now on the wall. Big rack in the turns 3 and 4. The 12, the 34, the 33 all getting a piece of it. The 88, the 47's heavy smoke coming out of it. The 8, the 93 smoking out there. All kinds of craziness out there. This is exactly what has been building up all night.
And Byron is on his shell in corner number 3. He turtled that car down to the apron after being full throttled by Ashley Miller in the number 7. And we mentioned it earlier in the season. Some of these drivers, Tony, they have real spotters. They know when the caution flag does come out. If you're in the case of Ashley Miller, you didn't listen to either look at the caution lights, because he just ran into the 93 after the fact. And Tony, he's not the only one that's involved. There's over a dozen cars that got some sort of damage out of this, including, I believe that was Rich Doucette that got a little bit of it, Josh Berry. Oh, Chris Overland, what a run that he had earlier tonight. He's tore up. The 12 is tore up. The 4, Brian Day, he had a great run. He hit the wall in corner number 3 and 4. Oh, there's a lot of good cars that are not going to get the finishes they deserve with 21 laps to go.
Tim, there's probably 10 cars that are involved. Just kind of freeze framing the replay here. We see Brandon Hawk, and that's where it all started. Hawk tried to, I don't know if he tried to block Byron Daly or what, but he swerved left, and that's when the 2 touched wheels, and it set off the whole thing. So Hawk involved, Daly involved. Joey Brown spun, Tyler Hudson, Chris Overland, Peter Bennett caught a piece of it. Chad Lawton. It looks like Cody Bias got a piece of Matt Busa's car. Rich Doucette, as you mentioned, might have got a piece of it as well. Brian Day on the outside wall, and it just kept happening as things continued in turn number 3. So easily 8-10 cars involved in this one. And you talked about the secondary accident that happened when Ashley Miller came through whenever he ended up just pile driving Byron Daly. There's a term a lot of people use on various forums, and I'm sure you guys can think of it. It's endearing of a different sanctioning body, but nonetheless, Miller also involved, and man, what a huge turn of events. Alex Warren also catching a piece of it, same with Brad Davies. That pretty large there, Joe.
Well, and number one, this illustrates anything can happen when you go to the track, and in this case, anything that has happened tonight could happen tonight has definitely happened in some way, shape, or form. But this also took out a lot of drivers that were competing for that first win, for that first big finish here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Over the break, we were talking about Byron Daly being able to hopefully get his first win. We were talking about the 69 machine of Peter Bennett looking for a big finish. The 12 of Joey Brown after coming off the hiatus. Now in the big group. Chris Overland in there. So a lot of guys that were running strong, they're not gonna be able to compete anymore. That's just a result of the hard racing. Meanwhile, Trey Edson, he's now in an excellent position to take away his very first win in the series.
Do we have a good hands award or something along the likes of this series? Because if we do, it goes to the 8 of Adam Gilliland. He gets a little bit of a tap on the right rear quarter going through that wreck from the 4 of Brian Day. Other than that, he missed a whole lot of cars coming towards him. He misses Josh Berry going down the racetrack, Chris Overland coming up the racetrack. His teammate Cody Bias, who's right in front of him, gets involved in this wreck. He hits the 34 of Matt Busa. Coming back down the racetrack was Chad Lawton after the fact. He has to get on the binders to avoid the 01 of Tyler Hudson. He gets on the apron to do that. Other than that little crinkle on the right rear quarter, that Gary Mercer trucking number 8 of Adam Gilliland. If it's not a race saver, it could be a championship saver, Tony, because you look at Adam Gilliland in this season, 39th in the point standings. He is averaging 10 points a race. And if that were to happen, it definitely would have been the death nail in the coffin when it comes to the championship. It also may have been a big downer towards finishing top 20 in this series to lock yourself into 2015 in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Adam Gilliland just might have saved his season there.
Yeah, he might not realize it yet behind the wheel of the car. He's probably still trying to figure out how he got through it. But nonetheless, he did. Now look in front of him. Tyler Hudson spun in that, well, I shouldn't say spun. He slid through that incident with some minor contact. He's still on the racetrack. Brian Day still on the racetrack in the number 4. Matt Busa also involved. He is still on the racetrack in the number 34. Same with Kevin King, who caught a piece of it, and Chad Lawton. So really back here behind your top 4, Joe, you've got a whole host of cars that are damaged or could potentially be damaged after that accident, and that could end up with another issue once we go back to green, bottlenecking the entire field behind us.
So now Trey Edson needs the restart of his life. Look who he's got around him. Ray Alfalla on his outside. Kenny Humpy immediately behind him. Michael Connie in that mix. Kevin King looking to get a top 5 finish. Chad Lawton, Matt Busa, Tyler Hudson, all behind him. And Trey Edson, I know he races in real life. I know he's got that experience and he knows what pressure is. But considering all the past champions that surround him right now and potentially future champions that are there, this is a lot of pressure for that number 6 machine. Green flag flies for what might be the last time out here tonight, and Edson hits the hammer hard. He's moving forward, but now he's got a bumper full of the 58 machine of Kenny Humpy.
58 comes through the hole along with the 6, and Kenny Humpy down the back straightaway into the wall and back out in front of traffic. Oh boy, the 58 of Kenny Humpy just lost the race there off corner number 2. Caution flag will fly.
Took out his teammate Rich Doucette among others, and we talked about it all night. Turn 2 has been the trouble spot, either getting tight or getting very loose, and Kenny Humpy trying to push it that extra little bit, lost it off turn number 2, and back across the front. Everybody, Tyler Laughlin somehow got through it, but The poor 17 machine of Justin Trombley just got clobbered. Thomas Lewandowski, Rich Doucette a victim, Brandon Cattell, Joey Brown, the 13 of Brad Mahar caught a piece of it as well. And once again, big mess in turn number 3, Joe.
Well, it's that 14-mile-per-hour wind coming out of the south, blowing south, and it really is messing with these drivers as they come through and off of turn number 2. And you saw the tailwind right there just get around the 58 and cause him to go straight in the inside wall and ultimately take out a lot of cars, including his own. And Kenny Humpy was the car to beat for so many laps tonight, and then his own ambition. He is a victim of his own ambition out there, which is definitely not something you want to do. However, Trey Edson, the more yellow flag laps they run, the more caution periods they have, the closer he gets to inadvertently winning the race.
So that is a huge turning point in the event, and it will be Trey, Michael Conti, Ray Alfala, Chad Lawton, Kevin King, your top 5 at this point as we go through. We're going to have 22 cars in lead lap. Let's look at this restart on the 5, though, of Mike Conti as they come down. We mentioned, guys, the lane change rule back in effect. You are not allowed to change lanes prior to the start-finish line. That's one of those questionable moves by Mike Conti.
Cool.
He's changing lanes about a car length and maybe change before that start-finish line. If that's the case, that should be a black flag by the rule book, shouldn't it be?
The way I understand the rule, yes. And the way it's been enforced in the past, yes. I have to agree with you. I mean, he saw a hole, but if you judge it by the bumper of the 2 car, yeah, when they cross start-finish, he's about halfway between the 2 of them, which the way it's been enforced in the past, that's and he's in the process of changing lanes at that point. It's not the 2 car went up or the 58 came up. It's the 5 coming down. And like I said, the way it's been judged in the past, we've seen that would be a penalty to Mike Conti, which if you're Trey Eidson,
If you're Trey Eidson, that's huge. That is critical for him. But more importantly, I think Trey Eidson has a huge opportunity here. He's got an opportunity here to ultimately walk away with a big finish, his first win in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Then there's Michael Conti, who I talked about earlier in this race. Well, I talked about earlier in this race that Michael Conti running that limited schedule, winning out here tonight, that would be huge for him. Just absolutely huge for him and everyone in the 5 team.
But we saw it there on the restart, the 58 of Humpy came in on that 6 pulls away, the 58 comes with him, and you see the replay there of that restart with the 5, and you can make your own call on that rule. The officials have yet to make a call. If they do make a call, they've looks like it's going to be let go at this point, Tony, because we haven't seen anything. We haven't heard anything in the broadcast booth. But you look at this restart, yes, the 6 is the leader. Yes, he does control the restart. Yes, if he does get a caution within the next 2 or 3 laps, yes, that could play into his effect and play into his hand. But he's going to have the 2 of Ray Alfala starting behind him. If he does the same thing that Humpy did on that last restart and follows him through, then he's probably going to have to be on his toes, because that 2 car is going to want this win more than anything.
I agree. Now, you know, and let's give a call to Trey Eidson. He's held on, and like we said earlier, he was in the top 15. Probably very underrated at this point. I mean, he did come through the Pro Series. He's had to prove himself so far. And the kid is no slouch. I mean, he's won multiple legend races throughout the Southeast, so he knows what he's doing behind the wheel of any type of race car. This is not a situation he's unfamiliar with. But this is probably a pretty big deal with Ray and Mike Conti and everybody around you here at Texas to maybe win your first NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series race. So good job, though, no matter what happens with that motivated eyewear crew. I'm sure Trevor Farbo and company, they are extremely excited about what's happening right now with their name and their brand out front. In fact, Trevor, a Legends Car graduate himself, and Trey drives his car from time to time. So that's kind of the relationship there. And, you know, they've absolutely got to be biting their fingernails to maybe go to victory lane here at Texas, Joe.
Oh, of course they are. Anytime you can get to victory lane, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, it's always critical. It is always huge. And I don't care what you're racing, a Legends car, a sim car, anytime you can win, it's huge. It's huge for the ego. It's huge for the soul. It's huge for every piece of you. And Trey Edson, he wants to really have that rush tonight.
Here we go, pace car in. Trey Idson on the hammer, Conti right with him. Green flag flies, we are back underway. And the 8 or the 6 and the 5 keeping with each other. Alfala has to hold off the 26 at Chad Lawton. The 4 underneath the 34, this is about to get big.
Oh, it might get large. Remember, a lot of those cars further back have damage still from that accident. 2 yellow flags ago, but they're still able to hold serve and doing a pretty fantastic job of that right here at the moment as they work off turn 4. Connie and Alfala side by side. Alfala going to clear the number 5 of Connie. Open door for Chad Lawton. Kevin King right there. Brian Day just about stuck his nose where it didn't belong, but thought better of it as he nearly turned Kevin King into the infield grass here on the front straightaway, but now he's going to follow him through underneath the number 5 machine, hopefully of Michael Connie in turn number 3, Joe.
11 laps left, 10 when they cross the start-finish line, and each one of them more valuable than the last. Kevin King able to get the 29 into position number 4, and leaving the number 5 behind him. And then number 5 now looking for the crossover. Michael Connie does not want to settle to position number 5 for the Abudo Gaming Cockpit's number 5 machine. Kevin King, though, still doing everything he can to make sure he stays back there. Back up front, Edson in front of Alfala.
The 8 of Adam Gilliland about to get a little bit of contact back there from the 33 of Brian Blackford. Keep a half eye on that. Up in front, it's the 2 of Ray Alfala chasing down the 6 of Trey Idson for the victory. The 26 of Chad Lawton following him through as well. Question is, Tony, you're looking for your first win in the series. You got a 2-time champ behind you. How wide do you make that race car in these last 8 laps?
Oh, you do whatever you've got to do. We've seen already that apparently if you have to move around the racetrack, well, you just have to simply do that. The biggest thing that Trey Idson needs to worry about right now is getting off the corner. As here goes Alfala right on the entry. Idson to slam the door. No! Alfala is underneath me. Out into Idson. Going to have to worry about getting off the corner. Very well, he didn't that time. That opened the door for Alfala. New leader in the turn number 3, Ray Alfala. And here comes the train. Chad Lawton, Kevin King, Mike Connie, even Brian Day up here trying to work his way into the top 5. And we hate to say it, well, we don't hate to say it, we're glad to say it, but we didn't expect to say it. Don't count Kevin King out. The old veteran right here in the midst of it in the waning laps.
Alfala in front of the field. Idson forced to fall back all the way out of the top 5. Heartbreak City for that number 6 machine. Alfala, though, looking to get back into championship form in the Sim Pedals machine. Now here comes the 5, trying to get around the 25, trying to spoil the 29, trying to spoil the party of Kevin King. Not happening. Meanwhile, back up front, Alfala blocking Lawton. It is a 4-car battle for what could be the win.
Former Pro Series champion Chad Lawton looking at the 2 and down into corner number 3, almost getting into a little contact made. Comes the 26 to the inside. Chad Lawton going to go to the lead on 162. Ray Alfala in the 2. What does he do now? He's right on the back bumper. It closes in 3rd and 4th. King and Conti are there into 1.
Oh, he's going to repay the favor. He'll talk.
What is...
The yellow flag is out.
Caution flag will fly, and oh boy, it's not done. Day down into the 33 of Brian Blackford after the fact. Oh boy, that got messy in a hurry, boys. Kevin King, I believe, is your leader, though.
Kevin King is a leader, and Kevin King could effectively win this race, considering we only got 4 laps to go. Race is over. Kevin King, where did he come from? We were talking about him earlier. We were talking about his season, and all of a sudden, Kevin King, right place, right time, steals the race. I don't have a better term for it, guys. He literally stole the race.
Yeah, that was a very complex wreck that was back there, Joe. When you look at it, it's the 26 and the 2 getting into it. The 2 gets down, gets contact with the 26. They make contact. The 29 actually pushes the 2. You're going to see a lot of damage on that Cooper Standard 29. He pushed the 2 around, and he led down the back straightaway. The 2 comes back out onto the racetrack, and then the caution flag comes out. It looks like the 4 down the back straightaway of Brian Day catches the wall, comes down the racetrack, and just cleans the 33's clock out of Brian Blackford, and that's a tough break for the Slip Angle Motorsports number 33, because he was poised for a top 5 run, and then all of a sudden he's going to end up probably somewhere outside the top 10. Actually scored in 7th place that last time by the stripe. That's tough for Brian Blackford, and tough for that whole team as well, because Slip Angle Motorsports, they had 2 cars taken out in that wreck. They had the 2 and they had the 33 on the back straightaway in different wrecks. The caution, as you mentioned, Tony, already out at that point with the 4 and the 33 incident. The 93 had a tough run earlier, and it just keeps getting tougher for that Slip Angle Motorsports team. Sometime this season, they're going to break through, whether it's Ray or whether it's Byron or Blackford or Bowie. They're going to break through at some point this season, but just not their night tonight. Kevin King has about 2.5 laps left, and barring something happening, motor blowing or running out of fuel or somebody, running onto the racetrack or something like that, he's going to win this race.
No, you are exactly right, Tim. And, like Joe said, he stole this race. I mean, right place, right time. But in reality, you knew it was coming. You saw Chad Lawton just muscle Ray Alfalla out of the way. And we've seen in the past, tonight, and through past years, that Ray Alfalla is not going to be muscled around. Other champions aren't going to be muscled around, and this has become almost a short track race on a speedway. So Ray decided to repay the favor in turn 1. He said, Chad, you moved me for the lead, I'm going to move you. And I think Chad knew it was coming. I don't know if Chad got on the brakes or cut left or what happened, but needless to say, the end result is not what Ray Alfalla expected. He almost held on to that race car, and poor Kevin King, Kevin, I don't think expected to see that happen. He plowed right in the back of the 2 car, and if that caution had not come out, it was a free-for-all in the turn number 3, and well, we might have gotten the yellow in turn 3 if we didn't get it in turn number 2. It was just that kind of deal. But, man, Kevin King has got to feel so fortunate to pick up another NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series win. It's been so long since he's been to victory lane, but you know what? They don't pay the money on lap 166, 160, 105, 1, whatever. They pay on lap 167 tonight, and that's when Kevin King is in the position we are going to assume now that he needs to be in to take home that check. But man, what a race! And Joe, what a just a unexpected turn of events all throughout the night. It started with Tyler Hudson and Nick Ottinger, and it just kept going where guys were getting into each other, muscling each other around, and what a wild, wild day. But hey, would you expect anything less at a wild asphalt circus?
To say the least, this really was a wild asphalt circus for everybody involved, but more importantly, we're going to have, what you're going to see as a result of this, you're going to see a lot of new storylines come out of tonight's race that we're going to be following. Repercussions of tonight's race will be felt throughout the rest of this season with plenty of racing left to go. Officially at the line, officially 1 lap left to go. Lights remain on. Race is officially over. And Kevin King, all he needs to do is make one more circuit around this track. Huge night for Kevin King. He debuts tonight with the partnership with Brad Keselowski Racing. His entire team comes out with new sponsorships from Brad Keselowski Racing. King running the Cooper Standard colors tonight. Last time Kevin King won a race, October 3rd, 2012, when he won at Homestead, Miami. So this race almost a year and a half in the making, but Kevin King finds a way, cuts through the field, steals the win, and I don't think there is a more deserving driver, a driver who needed this win more than Kevin King. He found a way to do it, guys, and with the new sponsor on board, with the new colors on board, he's definitely earned it.
Out of the top 5 in the point standings, your highest running driver is Danny Hansen in 25th. Kenny Humphrey 31st, Brandon Cattell 28th, Byron Daly 26th, Peter Bennett 29th, Thomas Lewandowski 34th in the running order. Somehow Nick Ottinger comes back to finish 13th, guys. I don't know how that happened. Tyler Hudson finished 11th, but we're going to throw the checkered flag here. We're going to have a jumble in the point standings, and Kevin King is going to win at the Texas Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. 4 different races, 4 different winners, and the Cooper Standard, number 29, is going to come by this time and celebrate the victory here at Texas. Conti, Chad Lawton, Trey Eidson, Adam Gilliland, your top 5. How about T-Loff? T-Loff coming home in 6th. Brian Blackford 7th, Jake Sturgis 8th, and that's not a bad run for him. He was sitting 9th in points coming in. Brad Mahar is 9th, and Alex Scribner out of nowhere. I think that might be the first time we've talked about him all night. He's going to finish in 10th. We had 19 drivers on the lead lap. Hudson, Josh Lawton, Ottinger, Busa, Davies, Alfala, Bias, Hall, and Barry, your remaining drivers on the lead lap. Kevin King celebrates. We're going to step away for just a few moments, and we will come back with the post-race show. We'll talk to your top 5 finishers after this. Don't go away.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up, though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the front. And now the 93, 39, the 30 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's been a race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you
Brad
love it.
Davies, here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing. Welcome back to the Texas Motor Speedway and the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, and that was a very exciting finish we saw here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Kevin King is your winner. Mike Conti comes home in 2nd. Chad Lawton, Trey Eidson, Adam Gilliland, your top 5 in this one. What a show put on by these NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series drivers, and Joe Cortez has made it down to victory lane with the Cooper Standard, number 29. It's a little bit dinged up on the front end after that incident there, Joe, with a few laps to go, but doesn't matter. It's in victory lane. Kevin King down there with Joe.
17 months in the making, guys, but Kevin King finds his way back to victory lane in the most contentious race of the 2014 campaign yet here at Texas Motor Speedway. And Kevin, it's gotta feel great to be back in victory lane after all this time.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I had a pretty pathetic 2013 campaign. Just didn't have the speed or the luck to have any good finishes, and kind of doubted if I ever would get back to victory lane. There's a lot of fast guys that come through the ranks every single time, and it's good. It's good to steal one. I got one stolen a couple seasons ago at Phoenix, and I felt like at least this is somewhat redemption. But yeah, this is awesome.
I think steal was the exact same adjective we used up here in the booth. You definitely were in the right place, right time. Walk us through what happened in front of you and when you made the decision to fight your way straight through them.
Well, it all started when we had green flag pit stops, and I got back there. I was going to be okay. I think I was going to be around where I was going to finish, which is around 14th or so. And then the yellow came out, and really the only chance to have any type of good finish, I was sitting 19th at the time, was to take 2 and no fuel to see what it would do, because I felt like I had some pretty fresh tires compared to the guys around me, since I pit a little bit later than them. And some wrecks happened in front of me, and I was just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I was a little slower than Conti, obviously. The fuel out of the car didn't help the car turn in the center, but it was the grip off was what I was looking for, and I had more than enough there. So once I got it to rotate, I was just going to do whatever I could to keep up in front, just to see where I could land. And they started battling in front of me. I saw a contact one time to get by, and then immediately the guy, I don't even know who it was at this point, kind of returned the favor, and I just happened to be right there, and I wasn't really trying to do anything. I just happened to be in the right spot. And unfortunately, they got together, and I was right behind them. And as soon as they cleared, I just matted it. And once I matted it, I looked behind to see if any cars were spinning. And once they were, I just looked down the laps, and I knew that I had it. So it was pretty crazy, for sure.
Kevin, huge night for you here at Texas Motor Speedway. You get the win, but more importantly, new sponsor, new backing with new partnership with Brad Keselowski Racing, new sponsor on the hood. How important is it for you to get this win, not only for yourself, for your career, but for everyone back at Brad Keselowski Racing and Cooper Standard?
Yeah, I approached Brad. He's a good friend of mine. We play football and all kinds of good stuff together. And I said, you know what? I want to do something that's a little different. And I said, you know what? I want to run the schemes on your truck team. And basically, I have 3 guys on my team, and you have 3 sponsors, and so let's get this done. And he's like, sure, go ahead. So it took a couple weeks to go through all the legal portion of it. We had to make them look just like the trucks and whatnot, which was totally fine with us. I just made it a little bit more legitimate in my eyes to have a real-time sponsor. And not only that, it's free publicity for those guys. Cooper Standard does a good job, obviously, of supporting his team. He's a good friend of mine, so I figured, hey, this would be kind of cool if we could do this. And he said, sure. So we got the word yesterday that we could do it. We've had it in the works for a couple weeks, and finally got the okay to do so, and we got it done. And yeah, it's really cool just because, just having any legitimacy pointed towards sim racing is a great thing, I feel. And to have those guys really just say, yeah, sure, cool, we'll be on the car, really makes it more fun, really, in terms of driving a car that you kind of are behind a little bit more. So it's cool. I mean, I'm really happy they did that. The car looks cool. Rich had a real good run, and Kenny obviously had a really good run to the end. But hopefully we can get more stuff like this for the rest of the guys that do sim racing.
Kevin, real quick, 2 weeks' time, it's going to be a barn burner at Richmond. Are we going to see a little bit of retribution? Are guys going to have a short memory about this one, or are we going to see a lot of retribution in 2 weeks?
The guys involved, they're pretty fast. Obviously, they're always up front. You would hope cooler heads prevail just to make sure that no one else is involved behind. But there were some other people in the field that were taking people out, and eventually, as much as you want to run well and finish well, it comes to a point where you're just going to stop, you just stop taking it. So, you hope these guys get over it and kind of shake hands and figure out, okay, I screwed up or whatnot, then like bygones be bygones. But if that doesn't happen, then for sure I think it'll carry over eventually to where the point where unfortunately other people will be caught up into it. So hopefully they can figure it out, because Richmond is obviously a tight racetrack where we're going to be pretty close, and a lot of the guys who are having issues with each other are already close in speed already, so it doesn't make any things easier. But for everyone else's sake around, hopefully they can figure it out and not cause any more issues. If not, I guess it'll be something to watch in the replays.
Kevin, so many people behind you and the 29 team. Who all makes it work for you, buddy?
Oh, man. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone on the team. Rich, of course, Kenny. We have a bunch of new guys that came on board. Let's see, we have, of course, Cooper Standard, Draw Tight, Reese Toe Power, Broken Bow Records, Brad Kozlowski Racing. Of course, my special spotter, Tim Barker. He helps me with a lot of the adjustments during the races and telling me what's going on in front, behind, and elsewhere around the track, so I really appreciate them. But really, Rich Doucette, Kenny Humpy really helped me out a lot this week. I obviously wasn't up to their speed, and I'm glad that I was able to get a win for the team, but I'm also kind of upset that they couldn't get the finishes they deserve, especially Kenny, because it looked like he was on a flyer. So the good thing is we have a solid group of guys that can have fun no matter what. Even if we have a bad race, we bounce back and we go out next week and we try to get even better. So the three-man team is seeming to be working, but the guys that help us out are really appreciative as well. So appreciate all those guys, of course, and of course iRacing and PSR TV and Tim Terry and everyone else who does a good job of broadcasting this stuff. It's pretty enjoyable.
2 streaks get broken this week, but the more important one, Kevin King's back in the win column here in the 2014 campaign at Texas. Kevin, congratulations on the first place win, and I'm sure we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Texas. Thanks, Richmond.
Man. Yeah, either way, I'll be there.
I certainly hope so. Kevin King, your winner tonight. Tony Stevens caught up with our second place finisher, Michael Connie.
Oh, it's been a long night in the booth, I think, but I have caught up with Michael Connie, and Michael, I know this finish is probably kind of bittersweet for you. I think you felt maybe you had a car capable of winning, but is the second place something you could take home satisfied, or is this maybe above or below your expectations for the night?
Let me just start off by saying it was a long night in the driver's seat as well. We had a lot of different parts of that race where we were leading, we were short pitting, we were taking 2 tires, we were doing a lot of different things, and I can do that because I don't really have anything to lose at this point, because I'm not really running for points, or I'm not really concerned about that, and I'm more concerned about trying to help my teammates out. But we had a great car tonight. I'll be honest with you, we didn't work on it all that much this week compared to weeks past, but I don't know, maybe condensing our testing time to one shorter spurt, which was last night, maybe that helps us in the long run. But either way, we had a really good car. I ran something a little bit different than Danny, and actually Brian ran the same thing as I, but Danny and Tom and Brad, I think they all ran something a little bit different. But I think we were all fast. Unfortunately, all of them got caught up in some stuff, and luckily I didn't. And there was a couple times where I thought I was going to plow in, but luckily the wrecks kind of missed us at the end and brought home second. And for the Abuto Gaming Cockpits Chevy SS with Jeremy Lukaska and all of our other great sponsors, we haven't really run all that well this year, and to finish second, I know we could have won. And if he gave me one more lap, I think I could have gotten Kevin, but he did a great job missing the wreck, and I was able to slide through it with him. So second, although it's the first loser, it's kind of crummy. I'll definitely take it and be thankful for it after all that went down at the end of that race.
It's been a pretty crazy night, like you said, I think on all parts. The big thing we seem to find through the course of the night, and I think it kind of influenced that incident there at the end, was tonight, for whatever reason, these cars and these drivers just did not like and could not do anything on the top of the racetrack. Was that what you found, or was it just one of those deals of you had to push your car too hard to maybe do something up there?
I mean, without trying to sound too crass here, there is no functioning high line when the bottom is so grippy. And especially in 1 and 2, we had a lot of grip tonight with the weather and the 14-mile-an-hour wind. So all that together made 1 and 2 really grippy, and 3 and 4 really slippery. So 1 and 2, the guy in the bottom could just hold it down there on the white line and pull up off the corner. And 3 and 4, if you were on the top, you couldn't really do anything either. So that one restart where I was on the outside of Trey, who was on older tires, I was pretty much wide open through 1 and 2 until I couldn't really hold it anymore, and he was still pulling me, so I couldn't have really done anything differently, and I got shuffled back a few spots, and many other people tonight got shuffled back. But I really wish, it's always the question, what would be one thing that you could add to iRacing? I really wish that we could have a functioning dynamic track, or even a functioning second or third groove, just so we can kind of split this stuff up, because what I was told in the radio, it seems like a lot of people were fighting over the same real estate, a lot of good, talented, big-name people in the back just running into each other and, not really representing themselves or their sponsors as well as they should have. And I don't really think it's their fault. I think we're just all kind of put in a box, especially with the weather settings tonight. And we all had to fight for the bottom. And I mean, my car was awesome on the bottom, just as good as anybody else. Humpy was a little bit faster, but pretty much just as good as anybody else. But you stuck any of us in the top, and we couldn't do anything. So you could have been the best driver in the world tonight with the best car, and if you were stuck in the top, there really wasn't much you could do.
Well, either way, whether there was much you could do or not on the top, or for that matter, I guess the bottom, you made things happen, ending up in the second spot. Who all helped you get there?
As always, Butto Gaming Cockpits, great gaming rigs for iRacing, Assetto Corsa, other sims and games on the PC and PlayStation and all those other consoles. Check out the Butto Gaming Cockpits before you go anywhere else. Great quality, great stuff. Jeremy Lukaszka for putting his Twitter on our car, and Tom Baker for working with me and coaching me for upcoming real-world legend car opportunities that I hope to fulfill here sometime soon. We're working on that day by day, but he's also helped me get through races like this, and what he's taught me over the past couple months, I was able to use it tonight and run better because of it. So, I have to thank those three main sponsors right there, and of course everybody back at J-Show Motorsports and Drill Isle with Tom Lewandowski, Jason Loaf, and Brian Schoenberg, Danny Hansen, Carson Downs, Garrett Smithley, and many, many more that I'm probably forgetting. I have to thank them all for continuing their support and being a great group of people to work with. So I'm excited to go to Richmond in 2 weeks' time. I feel like that track owes me one after last year's mess at the finish, so hopefully we can finish one spot better and get the W.
Well, good luck to you then in Richmond for in a couple of weeks, so maybe you do end up getting the win. That's Michael Connie. He somehow survives and scrapes and claws his way back to the runner-up spot. I think Tim is caught up with the guy that's probably one of the most ticked-off guys in the Lone Star State.
Driver of the number 26, Chad Lawton, was looking at the win with about 5 laps to go. And Chad, you passed the 2-car of Ray Alfala in corner number 4. And then in the next set of corners, everything broke out. You've had a couple of minutes for it to digest. What happened from your angle?
Basically, he blocked, so I barely tapped him. Probably one of the best moves you can do without slowing us completely down or causing a wreck. He was blocking for like a good lap and a half, so there was no way of getting around him unless I moved him a little bit, nudged him, and I guess he rattled my cage into turn 1 and just, I don't know, he pretty much drove in trying to dump me or move me out of the way. I'm sure he's smart enough not to dump me, but I'm sure he was trying to move me out of the way, kind of like what I did to him, but he just didn't have the talent at that time.
And you end up coming home with the third place position. He ends up coming home with something that's outside the top 5, back in 16th position at the end of the night. Any hard feelings between the two? Are we going to see anything happen at Richmond?
Not really. I mean, he's fast everywhere and I'm not, so it's really not a big deal. He's won a few races. He just couldn't let one more slip for someone else to win, so he made sure that wasn't going to win, I guess. But I mean, he's still like 5 points behind me, so him finishing 16th really doesn't mean much.
Well, you talked about not having speed. This 26 car had speed all night long, qualified in the 13th place position, was up front when it counted at the end of the night. Overall, finishing third in this field, it has to be great heading in to 2 weeks at Richmond.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bright side. I did finish in the top 5 finally, and the restarts are always hectic for some reason, and I always find myself in a horrible position, but somehow it was able to work out for me. But I mean, I'm sure about 3 or 4 times I went all the way to the back of the field, maybe around 30th or 25th to 30th a few times, and I would we'd get enough laps for me to move right back up in the top 10 every single time, and finally I was able to get a little bit more track position, and then some people wrecked and got better track position, got up to I think 5th or something like that, and I was I mean, usually I don't have the short run speed, but I was driving the car with all I had there, and I was faster. I was no one was faster than Kenny, but or Conti was pretty quick, but I didn't see him much. But I mean, I feel like we had the fastest car right there when we needed it, and just couldn't bring it home. But I mean, you can't complain about third place in this series because it's like a destruction derby. You get lucky to finish sometimes, so I'm happy with it.
You've been close a few times last season, especially at the end of the year with all the speed that you had. You've been close this season to getting into victory lane. What's it going to take to finally break through and get that win on this series? And can it happen at Richmond? What are your prospects heading into the short track?
We're good in NIS, but that was something Kenny came up with that I'm no longer with them. But I think we'll come up with something good at Richmond, but most likely it's going to take people... It's going to take a long run. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you see who's fast on a long run, I'm usually in the top 5. But we rarely get long runs, and even when we get a stint, you know, with 40 laps to go in a race, it's a big caution fest, and I'm not a big go-getter and putting people in horrible positions. I do it sometimes, but that's the only way you can pass. But it's going to take long runs, basically, for me to ever get a win, but it's not looking promising anytime this season.
Beautiful looking 26 car. Who makes it happen for you?
Yes, it's awesome looking car. Mason Baker Designs definitely hooked me up with a nice paint scheme. I want to thank Viper Technologies for getting on the car this season. I want to thank Jared Crawford. We got a new thing going. I think we said it was a hashtag carried by Crawford because he seems to be carrying us with setups every single week, and I'm sure everyone in DWC knows that, and I'm sure they hate it. But everyone at One Up, Tyler Hudson, Josh Lawton, Justin Bolton, everyone who helps in DWC practicing for every week, and Tim Terry and Tim's Corners, and the broadcast here at PSR TV. I appreciate it, and hope you guys enjoyed the show.
And that's Chad Lawton coming home in position number 3. Great run for this number 26 team. And Joe, after all the fireworks at the end of the race, there's another driver that you've caught up with that finishes in position number 4 that was in position to possibly win this race at the end of it.
That is a driver of the number 6 machine, Trey Eidson. And Trey, just to begin with, how heartbreaking is it to have been in first, to be up front, and now to finish 4th?
I would say it's heartbreaking if you look at the first 120-something laps where I was running. I mean, we were out to lunch. So I'll take a 4th, but you could kind of taste it, especially when they didn't pass me those first few laps with those tires. I mean, I was like, well, hey, maybe we can hold on to it. But our setup, our car got way too tight after 4 or 5 laps, and there was not much I could do. But I'll take a 4th. I'm not too heartbroken.
Looking to pick up some major points as a result of this one. Let me ask you this real quick. You've raced in the real world. You know the pressure of the real car. Did the pressure you felt being up front here in position number 1, restarting position number 1 with past champions behind you compare to what you felt in the car before?
It's funny you ask that. I was at dinner last week with the guy that takes care of my Legends car. I'll give him a shout out, Ryan Farbo. And he was like, man, it can't be that hard because he watches me every week. And I said, man, this competition, you know, you're not in there sweating. It's not a physical thing, but the concentration and the level of competition is just insane. And I mean, sometimes it's harder than than real life. Because in real life, you don't have the same engine chassis as all your competition like we do here. But yeah, when you look in the mirror like I was, and you have Ray Alfalla who's dominated and won 2 championships, and you got all them guys, and Kevin King. I mean, I ran with him in DMP way back when we were, I don't even know, 10 years old. It's just, yeah. I mean, you can crack under pressure. I don't think I cracked under pressure. Like I said, our car just got too tight.
Trey, you've run in what seems like every level of sim racing, and now here you are at the pinnacle of sim racing, at the peak, if you will, in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. How cool is it to run with these guys week in and week out? And with this 4th place finish, how soon will it be? How much sooner will it be before we see Trey Eidson in a victory lane?
I think we got a little ways to go on the setup side. You don't ever know what iRacing is going to throw at you build to build. We got to find a little more speed. I feel like we've got the speed the first 5 or 10 laps. I think we're okay, but we just seem to really, we can't maintain like the rest of them can. So we got our homework to do. Racing with these guys is fun because in the back of your mind, we know that a bunch of people are watching, and you guys are putting on a great show for us. And there's a lot put into this series that I don't think a lot of people appreciate. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Trey, lots of stickers here on this green number 6 machine. Who makes it work for you week in, week out?
I just need to thank Trevor Farbo at Motivated Eyewear and Ryan Potter. They're the guys behind that brand. It's gomotivated.com. They're up and coming brand, so I mean, get on the wagon now because they're going to be big one day.
That is Trey Eidson finishing in 4th. Trey, great run tonight, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time when we go to Richmond.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Thank you.
Tony Stevens caught up with the driver of the number 8 machine, Adam Gilliland, finishing 5th place tonight.
I certainly have, Joe. And Adam, how the heck did you end up in 5th?
Well, got lucky with all the carnage and somehow managed to squeeze through each and every wreck. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy about that result. I haven't had very much luck so far this season, but it's nice to finally get a top 5.
Adam, that big wreck with about 20 laps to go or so in turn number 3 took out a ton of good race cars. Was it point and shoot, close your eyes and pray, or did you really just navigate through that wreck and see what was happening? Because the replay from where we sat was just absolutely inspiring.
Well, I got loose off turn 2, and that kind of set me in a position where I was going a little bit slower than I would have. I tried checking up, and I saw that if I just maintained the same pace riding the brake, that I was going to plow right into the 27. So I ditched the brake and just rolled to my best ability through the wreck, and somehow the gaps opened, and I came out on the other side.
We talked about how that maybe could be a season changer for you because you've had horrible luck so far, to maybe at least give you a shot to stay in the top 20 this season. Going to Richmond now after a 5th place finish, does that give you a little bit more added motivation to maybe work a little bit harder in this race car, to try a few more things, to spend a couple more hours at the virtual racetrack trying to find some speed, or are you pretty confident you'll be good the rest of the season if you can find some luck?
Well, yeah, the last few weeks, I think dating back to Vegas, we had a good car at Daytona too, but that's crapshoot, as everyone knows. But we've had great cars bringing to the track. Cody Bias has brought some really good pieces, and last week we just got involved in a big wreck, and we were running top 5 before we got trapped during green flag pit stops. But we've had great cars, and this is definitely a huge momentum booster, and Richmond's a really good track for me, and I'm looking forward to getting there and seeing what we unload.
Who all makes it happen for the 8 bunch?
Finally, I get to thank my sponsors. It's rare I get to do one of these interviews, so I got to thank my sponsor, Gary Mercer Trucking, Tim Terry with Tim's Corner Motorsports, and JD Laird. He does really good designs at JDR Graphics, and you can follow him on Twitter.
Well, that's Adam Gilliland. He'll finish in the 5th spot here tonight at Texas. Great finish for the number 8 car. And Tim Terry, maybe you caught up with somebody else that, deserves probably a little bit of mic time for his solid run tonight as well.
A driver we don't usually talk about post-race. It's T-Loft, driver of the number 51, and what are you doing in 6th place after the race?
I really don't know, Tim. The car was pretty bad all night. I mean, I was just way too tight with the weather conditions the way they were. I had a good short run, 10, 15 lap car, but it got me up to the top 15 early in the race, but we had about a 30 lap run and we dropped back into 30. So I was trying to ride around and save the car for the end because I knew if we got a caution right there towards the end, it was going to be carnage with the blocking as bad as it was all night. So got a couple of lucky breaks, missing the big wrecks, and I still right now do not know how I missed Kenny Humpy down the backstretch whenever he came back to track. But all in all, it was a good night. And coming home with my best position in DWC so far is it's nice.
And I think we're going to get that up there on the back straightaway on lap 151. But looking forward to this season, you had a couple of stumbling blocks at the start of the year. What do you have to do now to set yourself up for the end of this season to get some great runs and possibly break into a top 5 before the end of the season?
Well, the team right now, Cody Bias Racing, is clicking on all cylinders right now. We've been clicking off some good finishes. Cody Bias has had some pretty bad luck so far, but he's the main setup builder, and he's been giving us really good pieces so far, and I got to thank him the most. And him and Alex Warren put in a lot of time for our setups. But the start of the season, I didn't run the first 2 races, but I've run the last 2, and I'm already up to 32nd in points. And I'm hoping to keep on running and try to crack into the top 20 and get a DWC license. So if as long as we keep on getting the setups the way that we have the last couple of weeks, I mean, I feel like we can. I think we have a really good shot at it.
You mentioned 2 starts out of the full field, albeit you only have 2 starts. The best average finish out of any driver in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series belongs to this 51 car, tied with Kenny Humpy at 11th place. So there's something to hang your hat on as well. Sponsors on this race car, anybody else you want to thank before we call it a night?
Yeah, no doubt. I got to thank Noble Network for staying with me through all the carnage through the Pro Series. I mean, that was probably the worst season I've ever had, and for them to stick with me going into DWC is a lot. I got to thank them and Noble Motorsports. That's the league that they sponsor me. It's a great league. If you want to go check it out, it's noblemotorsport.com. And also I got to thank Peak Antifreeze for sponsoring the series. They've done a lot for us, and it's made this series a lot more fun and enjoyable whenever we have a title sponsor for us. And I got to thank you guys at PSR TV for giving us the broadcast and the quality you guys do. So thank you.
And there's T-Loft coming home with position number 6 in this race this evening. And Tony, that's not a bad stat to have after only 2 starts in the series, to have the best average finish in the series in your 2 starts. Final thoughts from here. We head to Richmond in 2 weeks. You thought the tempers were short here.
Yeah, it's a perfect racetrack for paybacks. There's no doubt about that. Falls the perfect time of the way the schedule has gone, and I'm really looking forward to it. Richmond's always a good race, and yeah, it usually has a little bit of yellow fever, but I got a feeling it's going to be scarlet fever in 2 weeks, and scarlet, of course, being a shade of red. Red usually indicates what? Anger, because we've got all these rivalries brewing and boiling coming into Richmond. You got Nick Ottinger and Tyler Hudson at each other's throats. You've got, I would imagine, Chad Lawton and Ray Alfala now trying to remember some things. You've got a lot of things happening rolling into Richmond, and not just among the backmarkers, among some big contenders. So it's going to be fun to see, as one driver already said, how it plays out and if it affects anybody else over the course of the season. Richmond, I think, though, it's going to be a chance for everybody to get those things out of their system, knock the guy out of the way, get the paybacks done, and then continue on through the rest of the year. It's probably going to be a race we don't want to miss by any means. You can never go wrong going short track racing, especially here in iRacing with these Gen 6 cars. Always going to be fun. We're going to see 2 and probably 3 wide racing and a lot of paint getting traded. Oh, I can't wait. This is Texas, and they look like they've been to Martinsville or Richmond. I don't know how they're supposed to look after Richmond. Maybe they're going to look like they went to the junkyard. I'm not quite sure, but it's going to be large, I've got a feeling. I've also got a feeling that probably iRacing's officiating crew is going to have their work cut out for them in the next couple of weeks, Joe.
I've oft said that sim racers are long to remember and short to forgive, and I think you're going to see that come in display in 2 weeks when we go green flag racing from Richmond. You're going to have a lot of guys who are going to remember what happened here at Texas. They're going to remember every incident. They're going to remember who pushed them out of the way, who gave them the shove. And I think if push comes to shove in 2 weeks' time, Richmond is going to be the place to get your retribution. 200 laps around the little tiny ring out there, but I think we're only going to be green for maybe 3/4 of them at best. Get ready for a barn burner. All the storylines will be in play, and guess what? If you miss this race, you're going to miss so much more than just a race.
I will mention, to come off Joe's comment, we did have a Pro Series race 2 seasons ago that ran caution-free at Richmond. The winner was Adam Gilliland, so we'll see if that can come back through again. But with what we saw this evening between the 01 and the 05, and it seems like the 2 and the 26 may have settled their differences. Ray Alfala comes out after the race on social media and apologizes to Chad, and Chad said there was no hard feelings on the broadcast. We'll see if that's still all the same in 2 weeks' time or not. It's Richmond coming up on April 22nd. For all the information on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, you can visit wcs.iracing.com for all the schedule and results, and also all the schedules and results for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the road version of what you're seeing here this evening on iRacing Live. So 2 weeks' time, Richmond International Raceway. Going to be exciting. Congratulations to Kevin King on the win at the Texas Motor Speedway. That's going to do it for us here this evening on iRacing Live. So for our whole crew, we got Zach and Paul and Ian Bushing and Ilka Hapola. We also have Matt Racing, Get Thomas, and Chuck Johnson. Joe Cortez and Tony Stevens. My name is Tim Terry. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we say, let's go racing from the Richmond International Raceway. Keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.